cares? There's a 2-mile wait to get past the damn green line.
Anyone who gets scared by a bear in the neighborhood, call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a Hooters.
Matt McCarthy this evening, who was originally in for Joe Murray, but if I have a sneaky suspicion, I think Mr. McCarthy might actually be at the Old Timers baseball game. If I were a gambling woman, which I tend to be at times. Also missing this evening is Skaz. Hope he's feeling all right, feeling better. I think he's maybe sick. We have George in the building tonight. George, how we doing?
Pretty decent. How we doing, Kendra?
Good. Also have intern Derek here, who will probably be contributing at some point to the show. Maybe I'll let him do the last headline of the night. So not to throw that on you, Derek. No pressure. If you don't want to do it, totally fine.
He's gay.
Okay. All right. See, I have loved that about the interns this year. They're willing to do the last headline of the night, and I respect that.
Right. And he's going to represent the male interns. So shout out to the male interns.
We have had so many male interns here over the years. I think, honestly, before this summer, there was only 2 girls. It was Katie Bennert. And there was one other girl who originally was here. I can't remember her name when I first started, I think. But Katie Bennert, shout out, legendary intern of the Sports Hub, gets overlooked. Shout out Katie. Love Katie.
Yeah, they made moves in Elon. Yeah, shout out to Katie.
Yeah, Katie's a real one. But the interns this year have been awesome. They've been fun. They've definitely changed the game on social media a lot, which I love to see because everybody here always gave me crap for being the social media girl here. Anyways, we have NFL football tonight. You can hate on the preseason all you want. You can be a preseason hater if you want to. I personally love the preseason. And it's kind of preseason football that matters. And if you're listening to this, maybe you're going to tune into that game in an hour or so and then the late game at 10 o'clock. But it's kind of preseason that matters tonight. We have Fernando Mendoza, who's expected to play a half of football this evening. He looked good in his first preseason game. We'll see if he can repeat it. We're going to get further into kind of the hype of college football and quarterbacks coming out of the NFL late in tonight's show, but where I want to start this evening is the Christian Gonzalez deal. It is the hottest thing going on in the Boston market right now, in my humble opinion, because the Red Sox have died off a little bit. That steam seems like it is kind of finally cooling down a little bit. Adam Schefter was on the McAfee show today, and I think that this is worth taking a minute to listen to. Can we get that audio, George?
First of all, I'm not so sure that Gonzo deal is going to get done so quickly. Obviously, there are the parameters in place, and there's the roadmap that Devin Witherspoon has presented. And obviously, Gonzalez would love to get a deal that's deserving of a new deal, and the Patriots would like to get a new deal. But up until this past weekend, the two sides were not overly close, and they had not had a lot of productive conversations. So we'll see if that works out or not. It's going to be interesting to track here because, like I said, the parameters are in place. It should not be hard to get a deal done right now for Christian Gonzalez. And obviously,
that I have a few takeaways from this, but I don't know who said that because I don't consume this show just for a lot of reasons. It's not really my vibe. I don't know who said that, but that was visceral. Wait, can we get that one more time? Gross. That is so visceral. My takeaways from this, though, it's not any hot take that obviously the Witherspoon deal set the table for this. And I do think that the longer that this goes on, the worse that it does look on Christian Gonzalez because the framework is set. And everybody has been talking about that and beat it to death all week. I was talking to Jimmy Stewart earlier when I came in, and he thinks that a lot of the reporting around this is very pro-Patriot. The conversation and the rumors of him, and we don't know if any of this is true, right? Like, both sides are going to have things coming out of their camp to make their guy seem better, right? Like the rumors of him wanting upwards of $40 million or a percentage of the cap when it goes up. And if that's the case, we are going to be continuously playing the game of who is the a-hole here all day for the rest of eternity. And that's what's going to wind up happening anyway, in my opinion, just because of the way that this has shaken out to this point. But to prevent the Patriots fan at home from jumping off the ledge, I would like to remind you guys that this is not a new phenomenon. This happens in sports all the time. And I'm the type of person who is very pro athlete in 99.9% of these situations. I don't blame guys for not wanting to go out there and play on a deal that doesn't reflect their talent. The thing for me is, it's all about, yes, it's making a statement, but it's preventing injury. I think that that's the name of the game here. And we see this all the time. All the time. Guys getting hurt in preseason. We're seeing it happen right now. Look at the Houston Texans. Look at just the plethora of injuries that line up constantly that matter during the preseason. And the thing is, I was actually interviewing Dr. Chow recently, who is an NFL doctor, and he was saying there actually are more injuries in the NFL. We're not crazy. There are more injuries statistically in the NFL in modern day. And the only thing that it is that the human body and what it's capable of and how it's constructed hasn't changed that much since we were prehistoric cavemen. But what has changed is humans' ability, because of science and technology, to get bigger, faster, and stronger on the same human body that really hasn't changed that much over time. And so I have no problem with a guy who is going out, not going to go out there and risk injury, whether it's making a statement, but I'm going to say it's probably risk injury, especially considering his, injury history. He has struggled being available because of injury. The other thing I would like to point out is that Joey Porter Jr. of the Pittsburgh Steelers has also been sitting out and is also looking for a new deal and hasn't signed one. And he's not expected to make he's expected to make money, but he's not expecting to be this highest paid player like Christian Gonzalez is. Another thing that I would like to point out is that Kyle Hamilton of the Baltimore Ravens, who is one of the most dynamic, versatile, and athletic players I have ever seen play safety, didn't sign his deal last year until August 27th. That's another week away. There is no need to panic here. I was listening to Alex Barth say the real date of concern for this contract for him personally is Monday, because that's when joint practices will end. And if you've been fiending or tuning in to preseason football the same way that me and every other NFL fan has for the last, however long you've been alive, you know that in the modern day NFL, these preseason games matter. But what really matters the most is these joint practices. And we've gone through on all of these national NFL shows the hypothetical of them taking away the preseason games and just airing the joint practices, because that seems to be where you get not just the most information out of who's ready, who's good to go, who's healthy, but also it's where guys are truly, the ones are playing the ones, and you're not just hitting your teammates anymore. That's where the bulk of information on preseason football is coming from. So taking anything away from a pointless preseason game, sure, we're going to overreact to Fernando Mendoza and Carson Beck versus Haynes King and every other aspect of the preseason that they're going to give us, because we're just football fans. We're excited for it. Whether you're, as big of a football fan as Alex Barth or you're a casual, football is king. And I also listened to Barth earlier on Felger and Maz today saying that his original expectation for this deal would have been 4 to 5 days after the Witherspoon signing, which would probably be around today considering it happened on Saturday. And we have now kind of passed that threshold for him. And I've also read some reporting of some people saying it's not the amount of money, but it's when he's going to receive that money. And for me, the entirety of this has been about the money. I don't understand why so many players care so much about being the highest paid player at a position or resetting the market or any of this crap. Because to me, and I think anyone who is more than a casual consumer of football knows that Bijan Robinson is better than Jahmyr Gibbs. But Bijan gets paid, and a day later, Jahmyr Gibbs is now the highest paid ever at that position. Do I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the second best running back in the NFL? Yes, but do I think that Bijan Robinson is better and deserving of the contract that Jahmyr had? Yes. So exactly. So why do you care so much about a title that in the history books isn't going to matter anyway? I really don't think... The thing is that Christian Gonzalez might come across as a bit of a diva, which I think is why the percentage rumors and the $40 million rumors and things like that are probably taking the front seat in this conversation. But for me, if he's really advocating for when he gets paid and not the amount, I don't really blame him for, one, holding out to prevent injury, and two, advocating for when he wants his money. We know that the NFL is a dangerous game of how long you're able to get your bag for, right? And if he's someone who's injured the way that he is, I really don't blame him. So in this market, we've been really quick to kind of point the finger of, okay, who's the a-hole here?
Pardon my language, but the a-hole of the year.
Yes, exactly. But to be honest, I know that we're supposed to have a take because that's our job and we have a show to do today. But I think it's both of them. I think it's both of them. I think that the Patriots, and I don't blame them, probably don't want to shell out what he's asking for. And at the same time, I think Christian Gonzalez is a bit of a diva. So at the end of the day, we're not going to know this year probably how this went down, because I don't think once this is done, either of them are going to run their mouths. It's going to take a while for us to get the truth about this.
Isn't it funny and convenient how the injury is kind of being used here as cover? I would say kind of to bridge the gap, because we know the parameters, to be sure.
Exactly. And you got, if you want $1 or $2 million more than him for a fake title that you're going to have for a little while, fine. But the big thing that we've been hearing about this is that he wants his contract not to be obsolete when this salary cap goes up. But to that, I have to say, you aren't signing a contract when the salary cap's getting raised. You want it right now. You're playing right now, and the market is what it's right now. So you're going to be paid what the market is right now and what you're worth right now. If that's what you wanted, you should have asked your, mom to wait a couple years to have you. I don't know what else to tell you. The market is what it is. Their players through time have dealt with that. Like, there are current quarterbacks making money that is not even, I don't even want to talk about. We're not going to talk about that because I will go on a tangent, and I know we need to hit a break in a second. But and it doesn't matter what Drake May is going to be paid. I don't care. The guys on Felger and Maz went into all of the contract details of how teams have broken up paying the cap is crap. The cap is fake. I don't want to talk about it. We can worry about Drake May another day. Let's get through this season. It's not something we have to talk about right now. Christian Gonzalez is on the table right now. And the whole conversation around this is who's the a-hole. But in reality, it's both of them. Okay? It's both of them. We're going to hit a quick break. If you want to get in on the show, 617-779-0985 is the phone number. When we come back, I want to talk about A.J. Brown and some of the audio that came out about his relationship with Jalen Hurts earlier today. This is sounding a lot like the Brown and Tatum thing for me during this breakup, and I think that there is a lot to kind of get into about this new Boston-Philly rivalry coming up. So give us a call. I will take your calls on anything you want tonight. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
You're listening to Joe Murray.
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
I understand and respect that you want to keep things moving forward.
Okay.
Things positive.
Okay, keep it positive.
A lot of Eagles fans were disappointed about the way things ended, the way the 49ers game went. What is your message to Eagles fans?
What is my message to Eagles fans? I love you, and I'm not looking in the past. It's a game. That game, no, I didn't play my best, but I'm not going backwards. It doesn't exist, and that's the last question I'm gonna answer about the past. So.
Originally Matt McCarthy, who was in for Joe Murray. We have George here in place of Skaz, and intern Derek here as well with you until 11 o'clock. That was A.J. Brown. I was listening to Good Morning Football this morning, and they played this audio. And to me, I think that there is a lot more to dissect than that clip shows. I think that this clip really kind of shows that there is a JB-JT kind of rivalry between the two of those, between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, and his comments saying that he wasn't going to answer any more questions that could lead to negative answers about Jalen Hurts or the team or anything of the sort. And I will say I do respect him not wanting to bash his former teammates, but also wanting to be honest. I respect that about him. I respect the honesty. It shows that him and Jaylen Brown truly are related in the way that they kind of carry themselves at times, I have to say. And the thing is that I think that Jalen Hurts and Jason Tatum also carry themselves really similarly. They're both very PR trained. They're both very professional, forward-facing.
Polished.
And they know how to hold their emotions inside, especially in front of the media. PR trained is the best way I know how to put it. And I said this the last time that I hosted Joe's show. I have zero issue with a diva receiver. I honestly think that you need a diva receiver. And the only person that I could think of in the entirety of the NFL, since I have been consuming the NFL, who was a wide receiver one and wasn't a diva, is Larry Fitzgerald, and he was one of one, and we will never have another one of him. I almost think you need a diva receiver, but I think that that's maybe where the drama stems in this situation on the A.J. Brown end. And I do believe him when he says that he loves the city of Philadelphia. I know that there is this new kind of created, I don't even know what to call it, beef, I guess is the best word, drama between Philadelphia and Boston. But I think that even as Bostonians and as this sort of rivalry begins to grow here between the two cities, we both can say and understand and respect that both towns, Boston and Philadelphia, are incredible sports cities with the most passionate fans and historically and recently really good sports teams. You could argue a few of them here and there, but for the most part, they're passionate fans and the teams are usually pretty good. And so that's going to add fuel to this fire. I really do believe him when he says that he loves Philly and the fans, because it's hard not to. They're passionate, they're crazy, but they love their teams and they love the players. So I don't mind a diva receiver who, when he thinks he's being shaded or whatever, is sitting on the sidelines reading a self-help book. To me, that helps me do my job. It gives me something to talk about, and it gives us something to meme on the internet. I'm okay with that. I think that that's funny. And it does, to me, like I said, seem like the beef is really one-sided on A.J. Brown's part. And he, unfortunately, has built a little bit of a reputation for himself in being a diva. I heard Kyle Brandt this morning say that he thinks that this situation is like A.J. Brown being a dog and having an owner previously, and Nick Sirianni, who is nervous, right? When you have a dog who can sense that the owner or whoever is handling it is nervous, the dog tends to understand that the owner or the handler is nervous and act out. Where he has comfortability with Mike Vrabel, who is someone who knows how to handle that level of diva, it's easier to handle AJ Brown when you have been around dogs or been around divas and are the big dog or the alpha or the leader of the pack or whatever you want to call it. And to me, that kind of stuck out to me because I don't want to call AJ Brown a dog or anything like that, but it is kind of a situation where I think because Mike Vrabel is so much of the adult in the room and has worked with him previously, he knows how to handle that. And he has worked with a lot of diva receivers in his day. So I think that that's the big difference. And I have to say, I'm not sure if the difference, I think, to be honest, the reason that A.J. Brown is so scorned about his situation in Philadelphia is, and he's made it quite clear, was that he wanted the ball more. But in an offense like that, and someone like Jalen Hurts, who isn't a gunslinger, there are too many mouths to feed in that offense. And I think that that's potentially why he's upset. I think the difference, and I don't think the difference is who is at quarterback. It's that A.J. Brown is undoubtedly the number one here. And that's why he's already happier, is because there's not a question of a doubt who the offense is going to operate through. It's him and Drake May. It's not a question of Saquon Barkley or Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown or whoever. It's A.J. Brown and it's Drake May. And so there were just too many mouths to feed prior. And he's looked like that in training camp. He's looked incredible, especially today, which the Quinyon Mitchell thing, according to reports, and I didn't see any of this, but I've heard all day today that he had 5 touchdowns, every single one of them coming against Quinyon Mitchell, who is nobody to shake. You shouldn't shake your head at that. Quinyon Mitchell is an incredible player. Both sides of the Eagles are absolutely stacked. That defense, it's Georgia 2.0. They have been really good on both sides of the ball. They've been able to acquire talent, hang on to talent. He's really kind of the first person on this team that we've seen kind of hold any sort of grudge or not want to be in Philadelphia. And do I think that that team has underachieved with the roster they've had the last couple of years? Yes. But I think the issue is that A.J. Brown hasn't been able to shine versus he's the best option here. That's very clear. And we'll find out if it's a real version of A.J. Brown in real time or if he's just one of these guys where it's his former team and it's an extra reason for him to get up at the end of the day is who he's playing and what he has to prove. And I think that this is going to be the same situation for Jalen Brown. That's no question when he makes his return here. So I think that this beef between Boston and Philly really isn't going anywhere. And even if A.J. Brown is the prince that's been promised, my question is, after listening once again to Alex Barth today and some of his questions about the team before the season starts, does it really all matter if this offensive line doesn't find a way to gel? If you're a mega football fan, you know that like a good baseball team deep in the season or like an NBA team kind of heading into the month of March or even some elite teams heading into Christmas, like that's kind of the mark. You see teams gel. It's the same thing with an offensive line. An offensive line in particular can look like the most just uncohesive unit, and one game, 1 week, one practice can completely change that for an offensive line. They can look completely different and finally find a groove. But that's my concern about this Patriots team is, sure, A.J. Brown might be, the guy for Drake May this season. It might change absolutely everything for a young quarterback who's developing. But is it going to matter if the offensive line, 1, doesn't have any depth, and 2, doesn't start to gel before maybe even week 3 of this season? That's a huge question mark because we have seen Joe Burrow, who is the elite of elite in the league right now with elite talent at receivers, continuously struggle year after year, pretty much the entirety of the time he's been in the NFL behind a bad offensive line. And so at the end of the day, we can sit here and we can talk about how awesome Drake May is and how awesome the addition of A.J. Brown is and how much Romeo Doubs is going to help. But is it all going to matter if this offensive line doesn't become a cohesive unit in time or if there just isn't any depth there?
I love where you're going because my biggest concern is in the trenches as well. And if the offensive line is paper thin, to the Joe Burrow point, what is Drake May going to look like? I love what the A.J. Brown effect potentially could be to this team, not just for him and Eagle-wise and just the big numbers for a stud number one receiver, but does it get other people the opportunity to be open, the Romeo Dobbses, the Pop Douglases? I'm actually expecting big things out of Pop Douglas. I know that they were kind of making fun of him in the Thugger Maz, to be sure, like he's a stud at this time of year, but beyond August, what are we talking about? So a lot will remain to be seen. Looks like on the offensive line side of things, they're trying to stabilize things by signing a veteran in Van Rotten. We'll see how that kind of will look. I think that does kind of stabilize the interior line, but injuries to their depth, Ben Brown, we'll see how Elijah Vera-Tucker, if he can play a full, schedule. So if either anything is to happen to the offensive line, they're razor thin, so that is a concern. But I think that the Patriots have kind of addressed things, and I do expect to have an improved offense with A.J. Brown on the sidelines playing for us.
I think people don't really consider how much having a good offensive line does for a football team. Yes, having a good or a great quarterback matters so much, but absolutely nothing matters if you don't have a good offensive line. And the Bengals are a perfect example of that. You can't run the ball. You can't throw the ball. You can't do anything if there's bad offensive line play. And to be honest, I think that offensive line play in particular is one of the position groups that is down in the NFL over the last few years.
Seriously.
And I think it honestly comes back to the conversation we had off the top of the hour is human beings haven't changed that much since we were prehistoric, but you're putting huge people in a contact sport, more weight, more power, more speed, all of that on a human body that has just not progressed past technology and nutrition and all of the things. So a lot of it is just, I don't think guys are staying in the league as long as they used to. And you could have a mediocre offensive line and it'd still be a top 10 in today's NFL. So the big question is, this is all fun and it's exciting. And the conversation of Drake May having a number one receiver is so fun to have. But at the end of the day, this conversation is over if this offensive line doesn't get their stuff together.
And one last thing to add on that, the expectations for rookie Caleb Lomeu as well.
Yeah.
That it doesn't sound like he's had kind of the best camp.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like expectation rather than him being the swing tackle and get him experience that way, and obviously be the first tackle to be off of the bench if anything were to happen to Campbell or Moses, it sounds like there's question marks there.
And that's another thing about the offensive line. Greg Bedard has some really hot takes, and I do appreciate him for that. One of the things that he has said recently that I couldn't agree with more is that a lot of these offensive line prospects have been so overhyped in recent drafts, and it's almost like most of them need to sit a year the way that some quarterbacks do to be able to perform at their best at a young age. And I think that Caleb Lomeu might be one of these guys. Yes, we can talk about the amount of time that he missed with the team coming into these practices, but if the offensive line is bad, nothing else is going to matter. I see you guys are so excited to talk about this topic, so when we come back, stay on the phone. We will get to your calls immediately. We're going to hit a headline and a quick break, and then we'll be back to your calls. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray. The phone number is 617-779-0985. We'll get to you guys on the other side.
Sports Hub headlines. through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Welcome back to the Joe Show. No Joe Murray this evening. Kendra Middleton in for Joe. I see you guys on the line wanting to talk all things Patriots, but first, this is the thing that is intriguing me the most at the moment. I want to talk to Keith, who has a potential scoop on a Zolak fart today. George, this isn't letting me click this. Can you pot him up for me? There we go. Keith, can you hear me?
I can, Kendra. How are you?
I am so well, Keith. How are you?
Well, I am one of your biggest fans. I love the shrimp and puppy mama. And I wanted to just share, so at some point today between, I want to say, 11:40 and 11:42 a.m., they were bringing food into the studio. And I've got to tell you, I swear to God, Zolak released a beautiful, masterful butt flute symphony.
Thanks for the call, Keith. I think that we potentially have that audio. George, can you play that for me?
Oh, so I thought you meant the bathroom. So.
Wait, can you play that one more time?
So I thought you meant the bathroom. So.
It sounds like a snort.
Quite the effect to it, drum rolly, right?
I know that most of you who are listening, who also won't let me drop this call. I don't know why the call screener gives me such a hard time, and I will get to your other calls in a second, but I was talking to George during the break before we took this call about and I'm sure most of you have heard me talk about this at this point, but my one gross Zolak real story was I came in here when Lift Shots was still here to do a Saturday show when we were still in at 7 a.m., which means I got up at 5:30 to be here. Sat down, start doing the show, and Ryan Beaton was still my producer. And I looked at him 30 seconds into our show, and I go, I'm going to throw up. We need to go to break. Oh, my God. Awful. And he's like, why do we need to go to break? And I go, this microphone smells so bad. I need to move and I'm gagging. And he goes, oh yeah, Zoe was eating crab on that microphone yesterday. So now there is day old caked on crab that I am smelling at 7 o'clock in the morning trying to just do my job. And that is my personal crazy Zolak story, but the egg salad sandwich story is still my favorite. All right, let's go to Gino in the car who wants to talk about the Gonzalez contract. Once again, I don't know why. There we go. Hello, Gino.
Hi there, Kendra. By the way, lovely follow-up. Lovely story right before taking this call here.
Thank you.
But, of course. But what I want to talk about with Chris Gonzalez is until ink dries on that contract, I'm so nervous that we still have the chance to, trade this man. And as unlikely as it may sound, like I said, until it happens, I'm so worried about it. And even if we get a return like Sauce Gardner got when the Colts traded for him, I'm so worried because one of those draft picks, let's just say it's 2 first-rounders, is going to be used on his replacement. And the chances of us getting a cornerback as good, if not better than Christian Gonzalez, is very slim to not likely at all. So it's like, at the end of the day, you're losing because you're losing Christian Gonzalez. And I'd say there's about a 10% chance, if that you get a guy as good, if not better than him. So I just think it's a lose-lose either way. You just got to sign this guy. You need talent, and you need to follow up on a Super Bowl run.
So you're an educated fan, and I'm curious, just because I consume so much media, and you seem realistic about this situation, what is your ideal scenario here as far as when this gets done and what the contract looks like?
ASAP, and if it means paying him $1 million, $2 million more than what Devin Witherspoon got, I think that probably
that's the ideal, but it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So what's your hard line as a fan? What's too much?
Oh, what's too much? If he starts demanding the high 30s and 40s, if he wants to be paid like a defensive lineman, I'm calling it quits. I mean, at some point there's an unreasonable number, and if he reaches that, then I'm going to obviously be like, all right, it's time to get rid of you.
I agree. Thanks for the call. Like I said earlier, there's a point where if this is the situation, I think everyone involved is kind of the suckier side, to be honest. Both have equal blame, but there is a difference between something unrealistic and just when he wants the money. And that's the big question right now is it how much or when he wants the money? All right. I'm being warned about this call. Let's go to Paul, who wants to talk about the Patriots games. Hello, Paul.
Hi, my dear. How you doing?
Oh my gosh, wait, are you the Drew Bledsoe wine guy?
Yeah, that's right. Not today, but
you're my favorite. I have literally thought about that call constantly.
Yeah, well, not today.
Oh, no Drew Bledsoe wine tonight?
No, not today. Listen, I'm going to go with the win in the home game, the Germany game, and the revenge game in Seattle. As far as Gonzalez, he's has a little injury prone, so he's not going to get his money. He's not going to get his money because he got hurt in the beginning, and he's not going to get his money. He's going to get some money, but not his money compared to the Seattle guy.
So do you think he's going to play on this contract?
Oh, yeah.
All
Because here's the deal. The deal is this. He's injury prone and right from the beginning, right from the scratch.
Oh, we dropped him? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the call, Paul. One of my favorite calls of all time was the last time I was on the Joe Show. He called in to talk to me. And at the end of his call, I asked what he had been drinking that night. And he said he drank an entire bottle of Drew Bledsoe wine. And I literally have that call saved on my computer right now. It's one of my favorites that I've ever taken. It was amazing. But thank you for the call. I think that there is a possibility that he winds up playing, quote unquote, with this contract. But then we're getting into an entirely different conversation of what version of Christian Gonzalez are you going to get? And that's just another dangerous conversation that we can have because there's no way. I don't remember who it was on this station, so don't tell me this might be incorrect, but he's playing on what, a $2 or $3 million deal this year if that's what he winds up playing with.
Rookie deal, right?
Yeah, so, and if I'm him, I don't want to play on that either. Why would I risk an injury when I'm already injury prone? And maybe he doesn't think of himself like that, but hopefully the people around him are having those conversations with him about the reality of what this could look like. But if I'm him, sure, it really depends how difficult the Patriots are being here. Because if they're really jerking him around, which like I said, I think that there is equal blame for both.
Possibility.
I think that there is equal blame here on both sides. And the Drake May contract, certainly it shouldn't be something that they're having conversations about, but it probably has to be. But what is the likelihood of this? And if he does, you're not going to get the best version of him. Your team instantly changes. So you kind of, in order to get the most out of Drake May's rookie contract, kind of have to sign him.
That's what I would say. I'm actually nervous about this, Kendra, as a Patriots fan. I haven't really let it out, but I think it sets a bad precedent if you kick the can on this deal and intend for Gonzalez to, push the shove, go ahead and play your fourth year on this rookie deal, which I think is just it's bad juju, it's bad mojo for the team. I think it's unnecessary, and then it bodes a problem for then May down the line, and then Brown potentially down the line if he does perform well.
He's not going to get a mega contract because he's just too old. Maybe I'm dumb here, but wouldn't it make sense for the Patriots to want to give him more money up front? Because then it's less that you have to worry about when you intentionally sign Drake May for whatever he's going to want.
Bingo.
So that's the part for me that doesn't make any sense.
Right. I don't care about the semantics, right? Because it's like, I know it's a big jump and what the raise would be. So really what the money would be in year one and year two is a big question mark. I know Bedard's kind of put that kind of out there, and I kind of agree with that as well. But the parameters are out there. So I think and it isn't outlandish whether he didn't really reset the market the way any cornerback is really the McDuffie and then now Witherspoon respectively. So I think we know what the numbers are, and the longer that this goes down and the can goes further down the road here, down the highway, I'm very nervous that they're not going to come to a consensus. And then what version of Gonzalez are we going to get? To your point, are we going to get the gimpy hamstring? He has to play at a fully 100%. Is he completely motivated? Is he really guarding himself? Due to injury, him being injury prone, to save his worth down the line. And then, do we automatically think that the Patriots are going to pony up the money that it's going to take for Drake May once he comes out of this rookie deal? What he's going to be due as the franchise quarterback and perennial MVP, what we hope him to be, a superstar of this league. So I don't think that it bodes well if we kick the can down. And it's one of your own homegrown players as well. So,
that's another thing.
This.
That's the thing. It doesn't really answer any of the current questions that we have about what's going on with the contract, because it still leaves the question, okay, he wants the money up front, which allegedly to some people and some of the reporting is the issue, is when he wants the money. But I think that it's better for the team if that's when he wants the money, because you're going to be paying Drake May eventually anyway, and you want to get the most out of his rookie contract, which is why you need to get it done now, and I think puts more pressure on the Patriots to get it done now. But the unrealistic bit of it is, okay, is it that he wants his money up front and he allegedly wants whatever this, upwards of 30, even some people talking about $40 million. Right. And the just cap percentage, whatever of I don't care about your contract being a contract that it competes with the next group of guys when the salary cap goes up.
To your point, in this PR battle, Gonzalez gets to be the a-hole in that case. Somewhere down the line, we're going to get the leak of what really the number is, what the asking price is.
It's going to be years.
Yeah.
It's going to be years. And it's the same thing that we went to talk about with the drama with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, until somebody hands Christian Gonzalez a bag, either of those two a bag post-retirement, and they don't have to worry about it anymore. It's very clear to me that Christian Gonzalez doesn't care about hurting the Patriots' feelings. They have to be careful about how they handle him because of a fan perspective. But Jaylen Brown clearly doesn't care about hurting Jason Tatum's feelings, and A.J. Brown clearly doesn't care about hurting Jalen Hurts' feelings. The names of the two that I can't, it's too much. The Jalen Hurts, Jason Tatum, AJ Brown, I can't.
I hope there's no infighting this year with the Patriots.
My goodness. It's the Jays, all of the Jay drama. But it doesn't, at the end of the day, answer any questions, and it just continues the more and more you peel the layers of this onion back to look more and more gross, and who do you point fingers at, and who's the jerk here, and who should we be mad at? And at the end of the day, we can dissect it however much we want, but we're not going to know, and we're not going to know for a really long time, because either we're going to have to wait until he plays this contract out on what he's going to make, and he's going to go somewhere else, or they're going to sign and trade him if it's really... We can have this conversation, but at the end of the day, we don't know. We just have to say that the framework has been built. This is the expectation. If you want $1 or $2 more million, then we're going to be willing to give you the money up front. And that's what it is. Because at the end of the day, the only upside to Christian Gonzalez over Witherspoon is his size. That literally is the only difference. You are going to be paying $1 or $2 million realistically more for a guy who is a little bit taller and a little bit beefier with the muscle.
Patriots are kind of penny pinching him in that regard as well?
I don't know, because for so long we have known the Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft Patriots, and the conversation of Tom Brady taking less money to be here and them signing guys at the end of their career. And yes, we are a few years removed from that situation, but we're really not that far removed from who was the mastermind or the cheapskate behind these deals, whether it was Kraft or whether it was Belichick. And we still, as media, as fans, as a market, are adjusting to, okay, where do we point the finger? Whereas the other teams in town, it's kind of easier to have those conversations. But this is still a new look Patriots organization, even though it's not a new look Patriots organization. They both hid behind each other for multiple reasons for the better part of a decade and a half.
You're on fire. I would say, yep, the cap is crap, to be sure. So I'm not absolving Kraft from his comments. If he didn't make those comments, this would be a little bit different, the way the negotiations kind of panning out. But the fact that he put that out there 3 weeks to a month ago, I've been having the finger on the time, the stopwatch ever since, and so I am a little nervous, and I think we're getting to that point where where everybody's saying like, oh, right when preseason's over with, I don't know how they're going to be able to negotiate in season and have it be in good faith, expecting Gonzalez to be out there if he's healthy enough to play.
We're going to hit a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about these Bruins games that are going to be played in Germany. As someone who loves a team that has been playing games abroad for quite some time, I think I have a unique perspective to bring to the table on this. 617-779-0985 is the phone number if you would like to call about literally anything. Even if you want to call about your Drew Bledsoe wine, I will take it. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
go anywhere. There's more Joe. Sports Hub headlines.
Joint practice between the Eagles and the Patriots continued today. Drake May going 10 of 18 in 11 on 11 drills. Of note, Patriots receiver A.J. Brown scored 5 touchdowns in red zone drills this afternoon, all of them coming against Quinyon Mitchell. We have some preseason football tonight. The first game of the evening, the Raiders and the Texans, is kicking off any second now. And first overall draft pick Fernando Mendoza is supposed to play a half of football tonight for Las Vegas. And the late game will be the 49ers visiting the Chargers at 10 p.m. In some Red Sox news, Rafael Devers will make his return to Fenway Park tomorrow for their series against the Giants. Chris Cotillo also reporting that Trevor Story isn't expected to be on the Major League roster for tomorrow night's game. And Woody Johnson of the New York Jets joining Aston Martin F1 team's board of directors. I promise you, as an F1 fan, he cannot mess that team up any worse. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an approved mover of the Department of Defense, and myself, DNVanlines.com. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update is around 8:30.
You're actually coaching the game, or it's just that is. I feel so strongly about that. I can't even tell you.
Boston Talk Sports here.
What do we got?
Sports. Around here, we call them the Joe Murray pre-party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Can we let this breathe for a second? This is such a banger. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray on The Joe Show. Garvin plays Gorillaz on Saturdays, and he's a huge fan. He always plays them, and I asked him when their new album came out if he had listened, and he said no, and I was very surprised because that's usually his rejoin.
He's so good with the rejoin.
His music, I love Ryan Garvin. That's my king. 617-779-0985 is the phone number if you want to get in on tonight's show. Like I said, it's a Joe show. It's a Thursday night. We've got some football on, but if you want to talk about anything else, go for it. I've seen some people in the chat who want to talk about my weird, crazy neighbor and a bunch of other stuff. Give us a call if you want to talk about whatever. Before we took a break, I said that I wanted to talk about the Bruins announcing that they are going to be playing some games over in Germany. The Chicago Blackhawks and Ottawa Senators are playing 2 regular season games in Dusseldorf, Germany in December of this year as part of the Global Series. But next season is when the Bruins and the Edmonton Oilers, not together but separately, are scheduled to play games in Munich and Cologne during the 27-2028 season. And like I said, I feel like I have a very unique perspective on this as someone from Jacksonville and who is a Jaguars fan and has suffered the London Jaguars jokes my entire life. But thank God those are dead because the Jaguars are building a new stadium. And it was announced, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that once that stadium is open, the London experiment is over for the Jaguars. So if you are one of these people who has been making London Jaguars jokes, pack it up. It's over. It's done. You can shut up and go away now. It's not happening. They will not be the team to go over there. They've also signed an extension to stay in Jacksonville for quite some time. And the stadium is going to be half taxpayer funded. So I don't know if you guys know anything about Jacksonville, but it is the kind of town where if that doesn't happen, people are packing. So it will not go well. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are staying put. That being said, I don't know if this is good or bad, and I don't know how I feel about this because as someone, like I said, who has gone through this experiment for more than half of my life now, there are some issues that I take with this. Clearly, they're following the money and the cash grab that has been the NFL doing these games abroad. To be honest, I was having this conversation earlier today because if you haven't heard, I am going to the UNC-TCU game in Dublin next weekend. The first college football game of the season and the first NFL game of the season, if I'm not mistaken, neither of them are in the U.S. Is the Australia game the first game? It's that Wednesday night, right? Is that the first game of the season or is it Seahawks Patriots?
Seahawks Patriots.
Okay, but then the next night is the Australia game, this is what I have been messing up, is which one is first because of the time zones. I've really been, I don't know what it is. I have memorized so many schedules, but I cannot figure out if that is how this is going to go. But I don't think that this trend of leagues playing abroad is going anywhere. I think it's going to get worse. And with the NHL, I understand. Like, Draisaitl is German. JJ Peterka for the Bruins is from Munich, so it's going to be a homecoming for him. But I am a hater of games abroad for a lot of reasons. One, do you have which one it is?
Yeah, it's Thursday. Thursday night is the Australia game.
Yeah, so it's the first. So Americans aren't even getting the first NFL game of the season or the first college football game of the season because of this cash grab, and I hate that.
Well, I mean, the Patriots, they have that Wednesday night game, though. It's the odd. We're starting on the Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. So, but like, still, like the first. I mean, that is the first true game of the season. But, you know, it usually would be Thursday, and Americans aren't getting that. And it sucks because they're now pushing these division games abroad, which I think is bullcrap because the whole point of having a home and home in division is having your home crowd make a difference. And it's one of the best matchups we're going to get all year going abroad. Even the Jags are playing the Texans as their home game in London this year. I hate that. And
they always pick on the Jags when it comes to the London,
which is fine. Like, I get it. And they're redoing the stadium. They're playing next year in Orlando. If this were a one-off, it's fine. But it shouldn't be a divisional game. They're playing the Eagles and the Texans, which the point I was just about to bring up, this screws over a lot of people. One of them being season ticket holders. Because it's going to be a home game off of someone's plate, which in this case, the Jags or the Bruins. You as a season ticket holder, your tickets aren't getting any cheaper. They're not taking the cost of whatever that one game would be off of your season tickets. And once again, if I were a betting woman, your season tickets are probably actually going to get more expensive because one, they know you'll pay it, and two, when has anything ever in the history of time gotten more expensive? People know that you're going to pay for it, and it gets cheaper once again. They're not going to go down, and they are not going to give you that money back for those games not being here. Number 2, you know who else this screws over? Venue workers who depend on that shift and that home game as a local to pay their rent, buy groceries, pay for gas, pay for their T-ticket to get to work. This screws them over as well. And you know who else this affects? Athletes and their families. Because as someone who travels a lot, I've been in Germany twice this year. Germany is not a quick flight. Ireland, London, sure, it's 5 hours on the way there, maybe 6. You get the extra hour on the way back because of the tailwinds or whatever. It's about 7. Germany's 8 on the way there and 9 on the way back. And you have to consider that, one, it's not just a one-off. They're parking the bus there for 2 games. And that affects their family, their travel. I don't know about you guys, but when I travel far, even if I'm flying to California, any kind of time change, I'm fine on the way there. The way back is tough for me. And there are people who are the opposite. They have a hard time going there, and coming back is fine for them. So every single one of these players, that's going to throw off their schedule, their routine, their circadian rhythm, the whole bit. And it's going to piss off their wives. Because now you're traveling even longer. I'm not going to see you. There's kids running around and screaming, and you're not going to be here, and I'm not going to have. And most of them, I'm sure, do have the help or nannies or whatever. But you're married, George. When you go somewhere by yourself without your wife and kids, how does that go for you?
I do miss them extremely. I find myself,
even if it's work.
I find myself FaceTiming them. We do live in a good universe, at least in that regard. You're able to at least video them and kind of see them through the screen. I love your point. I did not know that Australia game was going to be the first Thursday night game. That is such a disservice to the fans. LA Rams, wherever it is, Carson, California, the stadium. But so be it. 49ers, Rams fans, interdivisional. You have to get jet lag ready and ready for week 2.
That sucks.
That's just it. Usually you want a couple in the bye and have those kind of things happen, but to have it be abroad to start the year, I'm against that as well too. I mean, they had Brazil games. We're doing our thing in Europe. You bring up the Jaguars. It does affect the families, but there's a way to kind of do it as well. This early in the season, I'm completely out on that.
And that's the crappy thing too is that we have learned with the Brazil games. Part of the fun and part of the like convincing your family to go and making a trip out of it or whatever is the holiday of it all, right? And these guys, when they have said that, and it's not going to be that way in Germany. Munich's a great town, great city, but when they go to Brazil, the guys are saying they can't even go out to dinner. They can't leave their hotel rooms. They literally have to fly in, sit in their hotel rooms, and leave. And sure, Australia, Germany, London, wherever, those are all different scenarios. But my whole point in bringing that up is once this starts, it's not going to stop. And it's not going to get any better. And like I said off the top, I understand that a lot of this is because in comparison to the NFL, the NHL has a huge draw over there. And if the NFL is making this kind of money, there are kids growing up over there who are playing ice hockey, who are watching the Olympics, who I think eventually Germany could even move into these kind of more fun tournaments that we've seen pop up over the last couple of years in the Four Nations or whatever. I could see Germany, because they have the talent to do so, sliding into something like that. So the draw is there because it's a sport that kids grow up playing in Germany. I understand the draw, and there are German players in the NHL, whereas with the NFL, there's no other country in the world where there's any sort of even remotely close development of the NFL, and it's still huge. So I understand that aspect of it. But once this starts, it's not going to stop. It's just going to get worse. And we saw earlier this week Roger Goodell come out and say that eventually there will be an NFL team outside of the United States.
You in or out on that?
If it's Canada, fine. I love that the NHL is in Canada. I don't mind that. It's fun. That's where hockey is hockey. Like that, hockey in Canada are like Canada and maple syrup. You know what I mean? Or America and guns or apple pie or whatever you want to talk about. I understand that. So if the NFL is going to expand to Canada, fine. But if you're going to put a team in London, it's going to hurt not just the league, but everybody else, because nobody's going to want to play there. You're going to have a house in America, a house over there. Your family's going to have to split. Nobody's going to want to do that. Canada's different. You're not crossing an ocean.
I'm so with you, too. And to point to the semantics as well, because this 49ers-Rams game is getting me all in a tizzy, you would have to think that they all pre-planned differently as well. I'm not going into what the McVay and Shanahan
how early people fly over
exactly.
versus that whole bit of it, yeah.
Right. And this being the first week of the season, right? We have this
and they play more games.
Right. We have the universal bye at least, but this would be the last bye, going into a couple weeks. We'll be depressed going into that, but so football's right around the corner, but it's just like when do they elect to go out there? Do they spend the whole week there? Are they just going to go for a couple days? Are they going to be trapped when they get their Brazil situation? So, but the situation with the families as well, it's an understated component, right, that we don't normally think about. But to open the season, that just gets me all up in arms. It's just like, okay, that's how we're going to start the season. Divisional game. Where are the fans, right? I'm sure that they're not going to travel to Australia and go down under there for the Outback for this game. So it's a disservice to the fans. Now they slotted it in for Thursday night, which should be fine. From the Thursday night slate, Prime TV, we'll be able to watch it just fine. But I'm not a proponent of this for the season ticket holders, for the stadium vendors there, and then as well as the families. I have a soft spot for the families. You should be able to travel or be there with your husband, not have to wait for an overnight flight, those kind of things.
And they have money. It's hard. Yeah, like it's hard. It's hard to have sympathy for the fact that they're certainly going to be flying over there in first class or whatever, but it's still disrupting families and their routine and the husband spending time with the kids and whatever, and that's definitely a component to it.
Different routines.
But the other thing about this is, okay, we saw the NFL originally putting, games that didn't matter as much abroad. And now we're seeing them get bold with the scheduling and giving fans abroad games that fans at home and season ticket holders
taken away from the Sunday slate.
But they should have these games because that's the whole point of a home and division is that fans and home crowds make a difference. And now you're removing that for a home team on a schedule. So the question now becomes how bold, once this is inevitably successful for the NHL, how bold are they going to get with this scheduling? Because like I said, it's not going to get any better. It's just continuously going to get worse. And my other question for the fans out there, 617-779-0985 is the number. We do have a guest in Will Sands from the Revolution coming up, but I will visit this again if you would like to call. Are you interested in going? Are you actually going to go? Because I hate the London games, but I will go to them because I'm a home fan. I'm a real Jaguars fan, and I wanted to experience those things, and I like them because I know that I'm making a difference in the crowd cheering for my team in comparison to a bunch of random fans over there who have a jersey on that they found at Goodwill for a guy that didn't even have a cup of coffee with a team, okay? So will I try to go to the Texans game abroad? Yes, but it's not because I'm supporting the NHL or the NFL abroad. It's because I'm supporting my team as a fan who grew up with that team.
And back to your point on the NHL, I hadn't even thought of how to configure the schedule in between the regular season and the semantics of all of that as well. So they have to do it in between at some point, right? You would think that there's 3 to 4 days off built in around that. So, how does that
and think
affect
about Edmonton, too.
the schedule on the back and then in Edmonton?
You're adding another, 3 hours of flying to and from for them, 4 on the way back. Like, it's different if you live on the East Coast. And I don't think people realize how much further east New England, and this is a favor for Boston. Like, as someone who's from Florida, I'll be on the phone with my mom while I'm taking the dog on a WALK at night and be like, oh, yeah, it's really dark here. And I'll be like, oh, it's not even a sunset yet. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't realize how much further east New England is, even in comparison to Florida. Edmonton's going to tack on hours to get over there and back. It's not going to, it is just such a slippery slope of crap that is about to happen with every single one of these leagues. I don't mind when the NFL's in Mexico. It's fine. I love it. They deserve the games. Don't even get me started about the redrawing of the borders, but Houston and Dallas fans in Mexico have every right, and San Francisco, Santa Clara, everybody, you have every right to support all of those teams, whatever. We can talk about that a different day, but this is not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse. But I want to know if you guys are actually going to go, if you're interested, if you care. This is different from the NFL for you. 617-779-0985 is the number. When we come back, we're going to have Will Sands of the New England Revolution join us. It is Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.
to the Joe Show. Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray, getting ready to watch Fernando Mendoza take his first snap of the evening here. But before we talk about some quarterback stuff, we have a guest. We have Will Sands of the New England Revolution joining us. Hi, Will. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You must be doing pretty well after a 3-0 win over DC United last night. Talk to us about the game.
Yeah, it's always really good to get points away from home. I thought it was a really good team performance. I think we haven't put together as many full, complete 90-minute performances as we would have liked, and I think this is a very good start.
The team's attack finally came to life last night after a couple games where you guys kind of struggled to finish on some chances. What's causing you guys to finally gel at this point in the season after the return from World Cup play?
I think it's just kind of working as a more cohesive unit. I think front to back, we needed to be a little bit more connected, and I think finishing the chances obviously helps bring in a player like Jack Harrison, who's fantastic and is doing very well. Give some help to Carlos Hill and our other playmakers to really create a lot of chances for us. And I think the kind of cohesion from back to front to provide those guys with the ability to create chances has really helped us in the last couple of games.
You mentioned Jack Harrison. I want to talk about him for a second. Huge addition to the club. What has he brought to the team? What have you seen from him so far? What can you learn from a player like him?
Very dynamic, very good on the ball, 1v1 dribbling, and as you could see yesterday, very good crosser of the ball. I think having someone like that to unlock a defense, especially when they're sitting in a low block and it's hard to kind of create chances, is vital. And I think him and Carlos Hill complement each other very, very well.
Obviously, a new head coach for the Revs this season. Season's just over halfway through. What would you kind of give as a mid-season assessment of the Revs this year?
I think it's been a big step up from last year. I think there is a very kind of cohesive identity that we're trying to strive for. I think there's always going to be a little bit of growing pains when you kind of implement a new coach's ideologies. That being said, I'm really happy with the way the group has been playing recently, and I think despite kind of early growing pains, I think the sky's the limit for this team, and I'm really excited to be part of it.
George, you said you have a question for him?
Hey, George, People's Champ over here. How we doing, Will?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty decent. I'm an older brother myself. To throw your brother up in the mix here, James. I'm sure there had to be friendly rivalries growing up with him. Him now in Bundesliga, now on loan. Who would you say is the better brother? And give me a good thing that you could say about James.
Ooh, I'm not sure I can answer who is the better brother. I think that might cause some familial competitiveness.
Appreciate that.
But it was awesome. I think growing up, we pushed each other kind of on the field and off of it. And we're really close now, and it's great to see what he's doing. And now he's back in the MLS with New York City, who we play this weekend, actually. So it's going to be a really fun kind of family reunion there.
I was going to say, you guys are playing this weekend. What's that like for you guys? How often has that happened, and what have the results been like in years past?
Professionally, I think we've only met once on opposite sides of the field, and I think that ended in a 1-1 draw, if I remember correctly. So it's all to play for now. Kind of bragging rights is still up in the air, so we'll see how that pans out this Sunday. I
was going to say, you're a native New Yorker as well, so what's it like for you to go back home and play your brother at the same time?
It's awesome. I know a lot of those guys from my time in the New York City Academy. That's actually first where I met Jack Harrison, because he was a player there when I was still an academy player. But it's awesome. I have a lot of my friends coming through there. I obviously have my brother, so it kind of builds on those rivalries. And those are the games you kind of live for, and those are the ones that you really enjoy playing. So I'm very excited.
I read that you're from Rye, New York, which obviously isn't New York City, but now you're living or playing in Foxborough, which is a suburb of Boston. What do you think of kind of the New York rivalry with Boston? And do you have a preference between cities? What's kind of your experience been with both food scene, all of the New York versus Boston?
At risk of angering all my friends back home in New York, I will say I do really enjoy Boston. It's a little bit more my speed. I think New York can be a little bit chaotic at times, but I'm really loving the sporting rivalries between the two cities. I've yet to make it out to a Red Sox game, but I'm really wanting to this summer. And at some point, I really need to catch a Yankees-Red Sox game because growing up, that was everything to me.
I was going to ask you, as a New Yorker, where do you fall between the Jets, Giants, Yankees, Mets, Knicks? Where is your fandom?
Interestingly enough, I'm a Philly sports guy. My dad is from Philly, and he indoctrinated us all at a very, very young age. So there's really no question of who we're supporting. I kind of make up a trifecta of Northeast cities right now.
Okay, we have been talking all evening about the new Boston-Philly rivalry between A.J. Brown coming here and Jaylen Brown now going to Philly. What are your kind of expectations? What do you think of this new rivalry?
Yeah, the Patriots have always been a kind of, if not a rival for the Eagles, someone that we kind of look toward as another kind of competitor. I remember very early on, I have brief memories of my family getting really upset over the 2004 Super Bowl. And then obviously with the Nick Foles Philly special game. So I'm really enjoying kind of the rivalry that's brewing between those cities. And I think A.J. Brown going to play for the Patriots is only going to add fuel to the fire.
All right. We're a big food show here. Joe Murray is not on the show tonight, but I'm also a big foodie. Since your time in the New England area, is there a restaurant you've fallen in love with? Do you love lobster rolls? What's been your favorite food experience here?
Ooh, lobster rolls is a very good shout. Personally, I have family in Providence, and every time I visit them, there is a Spanish tapas place called Palo that has been my favorite by far. There's also a very good Italian food scene in Providence, which I've been loving. I'm still not going to compare that to Boston because I know it will anger a ton of people if I do that. But the food in both cities has been amazing, and I've loved every second of it.
Okay. I am also going to put you on the spot here, and I'm going to apologize in advance. The biggest topic of the Joe Murray Show when it comes to Revs players is Pancake Gate. I am so fascinated by Pancake Gate. And once, like I said, I'm so sorry to put you on the spot, but do we have any updates? Do you like pancakes? How many can you eat before a game? Give us all the updates on Pancake Gate.
Match day, the day after a game, I will be able to eat an unhealthy amount of pancakes. Before the game, I'm sorry to do this, but I have to plead the fifth. I think Pancake Gate is something that has to remain under wraps for the foreseeable future. So I apologize in advance, but I will say after the game, I think, pancakes is definitely a good post-game meal.
Did they take pancakes off of the pregame?
Yes, that is without going into detail on why.
I know we know why. We know why. We know why. Don't you worry. Which is why we are all so fascinated with Pancake Gate here. Okay, me personally, I'm a waffle person. Are you? Can you give me a tier list of pancakes, waffles, and French toast?
I think it's in the exact order you just mentioned. I think it's pancakes 1, waffles 2, French toast 3. Nothing against French toast, but gun to my head, those are the top 3.
I'm a waffle girl. I think I'm going to kill off pancakes. I'm going to put French toast in my number 2 spot.
I'm a French toast guy.
Interesting.
You're a French toast guy. Okay, what would your order be, George?
French toast, pancakes, and then waffles.
Wow. See, I like the crispy crunchy of a waffle. All right, well, I have one final question for you that might have a little bit of a follow-up, but you guys are in a portion of your schedule right now where you are majority on the road. Are you a big routine guy? Do you get thrown off by being on the road? What is the road stretch going to bring you personally?
Personally, I think the routine, we try to keep it as similar as possible to much of our home games. And I think I've been in the league long enough now that we have a pretty set kind of road game routines as a team and individually. I think this past game was really big in kind of building confidence and kind of establishing those routines and kind of providing kind of experiences that show that we can succeed on the road. And I think that's very important. So I think this is going to be a big test for the team. I'm loving the way we're playing recently, and I think I have good hopes for the road ahead.
Are you superstitious at all? Do you have any weird, quirky routine, anything?
I think all of us are a little bit superstitious, and nothing outrageously weird, but very particular in kind of what socks you put on first, what shoes you put on first, what type of music you listen to before the game. I think everyone has their own little rituals.
All right, what's your hype song of choice?
Right now, Matt Turner, our keeper, has been
I love Matt Turner. His wife and I chat on Instagram sometimes. He's a real one.
He's a big kind of electronic music before games just to get the heart rate going. And the song Heaven Takes You Home, I forget who it's by, but that's been our kind of song of choice recently.
All right, love it. Well, thanks so much, Will, for joining us. And if you see Will Whitelaw anytime soon on this road trip or whatever, make sure you give him a noogie for me.
I will.
All right, thanks for joining us. Have a good one.
All right, thank you as well.
All right, he is Will Sands of the New England Revolution. When we come back, we are going to get into, I think that some of these quarterback classes need to be talked about right now. I know Fernando Mendoza just threw a pick six. We can get into maybe some of this football before in or out. If you want to join the show, 617-779-0985 is the phone number. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right. evening. Originally supposed to be Matt McCarthy, but I am here instead. George is also here for Skaz. We have intern Derek here as well. Packed house despite everybody being out. No Street Team Joe either. I heard a rumor about Street Team Joe, and apparently he said this on the air. I personally didn't hear it. But is it true that the reason he's probably not here tonight is because he won't drive or leave his house in the rain? That's true. Listen, I have a theory that the dudes who are the biggest, scariest looking dudes in any room you are in, 9 times out of 10 are the biggest, softest, sweetest teddy bears in the world. And that is not just Joe Murray, but also Street Team Joe.
I love him. He's such a character as well, too. I will dock points if he can't drive in the rain, though. I am a little disappointed if I was asked secondly, because this guy knows I have his back.
Well, Joe was supposed to be here even before Skaz called out. I talked to Joe about being here yesterday, so I don't know if that's the case or anything at all. Jake Seymour, also big teddy bear.
Superstar.
Everybody, I promise you, if you are ever in a bad situation in a bar or a club or a venue or anything, the person who is the largest man in the room, probably with lots of tattoos, probably your safest bet, other than a woman, to ask for help. I'm so serious. If I was ever in a situation where there's a creepy dude who won't leave me alone, I will go up to the biggest man in the room with the most tattoos and be like, help me, because I promise you he probably will. Anyways, I wanted to talk about 2 things here that coincide with one another. One, how lucky you guys are to have Drake May. And do I think that there was any sort of long-term planning? He's our guy. This is who we're going after in his draft. No, because he was the 3rd best guy on the board, and that's who fell into your lap. I don't think that there was any strategy or anything to it. But
thank you, Chad Ryland.
Yes, but God, you guys got... Yes, thank you, Chad Ryland. But God, you guys got lucky, because I want to talk about these overhyped quarterback draft classes and how people get so married to them, and it winds up biting people and teams in the ass. Because like I said, we've talked all day, you've heard in headlines, the conversation on every major leading NFL show, network, sports show across the country has been about how Fernando Mendoza is going to play a half of football this evening. And we've talked at length the last couple of weeks, anybody who is so gung-ho on football at this point in the season, about how Fernando Mendoza played really well in his first preseason game. He's the number 1 overall pick. He was the best quarterback in the class. That's to be expected. And I will say I love the kid, adore the kid. Anytime he's interviewed, his audio is gold. I don't know if you heard his audio yesterday about him talking about the team. Just the words that he so clearly learned earlier that day on BuzzFeed, or the word of the day that pops up on your phone that he tries to sneak into an interview 37,000 times, is incredible. Like the synergy after he won the national championship. That will forever be something I tied to him. He's supposed to be that guy. But the rest of this draft class, and like I said, I'm going to overreact to preseason football here for a second because we have a show to do today, but Drew Aller has also looked really good in his preseason snaps and in camp. Carson Beck has surprised people how good he's looked in the preseason. We're going to see more of him as the preseason goes on, but this was a quarterback draft class that even Fernando Mendoza, people were like, oh, this isn't the class. Next year's the class. If you need a quarterback, you want to bond about this year. To continue to double down on how lucky the Drake May workout has been, I want to talk about these draft classes where they were overhyped versus underhyped and how successful they have been before we head into this season, because I think it's something important to note. Next year, the conversation is obviously around Arch Manning. Everybody's going to talk about him being a number 1 overall pick. I don't think that Arch Manning is going to be anybody's savior. I think he's actually going to be incredibly overhyped just because of his last name. I think Texas should be good this year, but to be honest, once again, going back to me being a gambling woman, I would bet Georgia or Oklahoma are actually going to win the SEC. I'm not even joking. I think Texas is probably favored, but it might be Georgia, very close. I don't think it's going to be Texas. I think Arch Manning is one of the most overhyped, and you can clip this if you want to, prospects that we have seen in quite some time. And sure, we're going to talk about Fernando Mendoza, who just threw a pick six to the Houston Texans defense early in this game. Whatever. We can talk about that. But next year, also Julian Sayin, Darian Mensah, CJ Carr, Brendan Sorsby. We're talking about this draft class like we talked about the Trevor Lawrence draft class, which, by the way, I will remind you, Trevor Lawrence is the only one out of those prospects of the second coming of Jesus Christ quarterback draft class who is even starting in the NFL anymore. That class, I will remind you, was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones. And we talked about that class as if it was just everyone on this team, bona fide starter, day one. This is the class we're going to compare to each other for the next 15 years in this league. And look at it. I would like to next point you to the 2025 quarterback draft class.
Shout out to Davis Mills in the 21 draft class.
Mills Mafia! Boop, boop, boop. We have Cam Ward, who, in my opinion, I'm very high on the Titans this year. I think the Titans are actually going to be good. I expect their win total of 6.5 to actually hit the over. I think the Bald Brigade is about to take over the AFC South. I'm a little worried about it. I can't even lie to you guys. I think that Robert Saleh was a good coach who got handed a really bad situation with the Jets. I don't think that there is a coach that can save that situation, to be honest with you. So I'm glad that he's getting another shake of things. I actually think that he is going to be a good head coach, and I think that Cam Ward has the potential to be a good quarterback, especially because they surprised people and went out there and took a wide receiver with their first pick to help Cam Ward instead of the expected defensive player that you would assume Robert Saleh would grab with that high of a pick. The rest of that class, Jalen Milroe is backing up Sam Darnold, who people wrote off out in Seattle. And then you have Shedeur Sanders, who nobody really expects anything out of. You have Kyle McCord, Will Howard, Riley Leonard, Graham Mertz, who just tore his ACL for Houston. And that's that quarterback draft class. People talked about Jalen Milroe like he was going to potentially start over Sam Darnold before the season started last year. And then I think most importantly, the draft class that we talked about, like the Trevor Lawrence draft class, was CJ Stroud's class. And CJ Stroud last year in the playoffs threw so many interceptions in a playoff game that they considered putting in Davis Mills over him in the postseason for a potential change at quarterback to help the Texans rally to a win. Bryce Young, also in that draft class. Anthony Richardson, also in that draft class. Will Levis sitting there on draft day, expecting to go day one, looking like someone just shot his puppy in front of him on ESPN. Just sitting there, and now nowhere to be found. And Hendon Hooker. So my point in saying all of this is that I am so sick of crowning these draft classes at quarterback too early, because you can be incredible in college and absolutely fall off in the NFL. It almost feels like a crapshoot. Like, you can expect who's going to be good, but at the end of the day, we don't really know. And my number, like, even let's say the rookie phenoms, Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud, incredible rookie seasons. Sophomore seasons just completely falling off. And now CJ Stroud going to continue to have questions on a team that is truly good quarterback play away from what I think could be a Super Bowl just powerhouse worthy defense, and an offense with, and I get that the receiver depth is a big question mark at this point, but he's getting Tank Dell back, who is his favorite weapon. That team's primed for a Super Bowl, and there's a few teams that we could talk about that with. I think the Falcons come to mind. They're a quarterback away, I think, from being a real contender for late playoff berth. And so I look at what's going on with Jaden Daniels right now too, and I wonder if he's going to be able to keep this kind of, I don't think that he's the kind of guy, after watching the quarterback documentary on Netflix, to not let all of this drama follow him. So we can even talk about these draft classes, overhype these guys, and they can still have an incredible rookie season and fall off. I really don't think Jaden Daniels' mental health is going to be able to survive everything that's going on with his mom right now, which, if you want to meme him, clown him, how do you come back from your mom absolutely causing you to be so memed that the government accounts for the country you live in are making memes about you. I don't think you recover from that. I don't think that goes to the back of your mind when you're getting ready for an NFL season. And I talked about that on Saturday. I don't know how he thinks that he's Joe Burrow. But that whole thing it has nothing to do with him, and it's his mom, and now he's just being memed to death and not going to be able to focus on his NFL season.
I find it so hilarious as well, Kendra. I find it more hilarious because my father-in-law, the Outlaws over there in Rhode Island, they are big Washington Commander Redskins fans. So it's I can't wait to see him Labor Day weekend, Doug. We'll be able to have that discussion, how worried you are with your quarterback and his reputation. To flip it back, though, because I love your point on all this and kind of these quarterback classes this last half decade. Very underwhelming. Is there any worry that Drake May could potentially fall off with the tougher schedule ahead now that people have a full year of tape on him?
I was just going to say, I think that the big takeaway from all of this is that I wanted to talk about this because I want all of you to thank your lucky stars for Drake May and him being one of these quarterbacks that you didn't really necessarily choose, but you didn't choose him either. And he just happened to be the balls.
I love him.
Me too.
Right.
I love him. He's awesome. Did you see the ad he did for Abercrombie that came out today?
Oh my goodness.
He looked clean.
Yes.
There's nothing that he doesn't do well.
Yeah,
and I don't
too.
And I don't think that there should be any expectation of regression for him. But once again, I'm going to 2 hours later come back to the same thing that I came back to off the top of the show. And it doesn't matter how good Drake May or AJ Brown or anybody is capable of being this season if this offensive line doesn't find a groove and find a groove soon. Or get healthy, whatever you want to call it. That's the thing. Health is so important. But even when you get into the depths of things, like I said earlier, just them being able to gel and know what the other is going to do before they even know what they're going to do is
so true.
So important.
It's so true. I love the Bengals example as well, too.
Yeah, and so I think that Drake May can be this quarterback that we all know who he is, not who he could be, who he is. Can continue to do that if the offensive line does him favors. And that's my concern. And you know what? This sounds crazy, but if they do sign and trade Gonzalez, you could get some. That's the big thing about offensive line for me is you either have to draft them or overpay them when they become available or in a situation where they're not happy. Because if you have a good offensive lineman, you hold on to them for dear life. You don't let those guys go.
See, we're in a day and age where free agency's kind of figured out really the players that they don't make it to free agency. If they're a commodity, they're usually kind of inked up there. So it's very few fall in between the cracks there that are available. But I'm with you, especially in the offensive line. You kind of have to draft and develop these guys. Get them back into the factory to be sure. Well, hopefully they can do things and wonders with Lemieux the way that they've done down the line, from Light to Solder and so on and so forth. To flip concerns, though, for the Patriots, I'm still concerned on the edge. I think we're paper thin in terms of depth there as well. We'll see if Harold Landry can come back and give us anything. And then what does the defense look like without Gonzalez in the secondary? It's also a big worry for me. I don't think it's automatic that he has to come back and play on the week one on the rookie deal if it ends up looking like they're not going to come to a deal. So it is. I'm interested to see, and we might get a little taste of it this week with the Patriots Eagles Saturday. But we have to make preseason great again, too. Who's going to be playing on either side of the football? I know they're probably taking away a lot from the joints. Looks like our offense had such a day yesterday, and it looks like a little bit more even, a little bit more defensive, squaring things up for day two. So it'll be interesting Saturday. I am a preseason head as well, and I'm excited to see even if it's DeVito under center. But, I would love to see preseason be what it used to, but doesn't sound like we'll go back to that anytime soon.
All of this to say, teams crown quarterbacks before they're even drafted, and I want all of you as you are getting ready to go to sleep tonight to thank your lucky stars, pray to whatever you believe in that you have Drake May on your team, because having a starting quarterback, let alone a good quarterback, is truly becoming a crapshoot, and nobody knows anything. None of us know anything. We just have a show to do today, a deadline due today, something to write today. That's all it is. These guys can be the best of the best, but the NFL is just such a different beast. It really is. Look at Alabama quarterbacks through time, right? Like, just such a dynasty. And the best quarterback, I think, even still to come out of there, we can talk about whether someone went to Oklahoma from Alabama or whatever. It's still Bart Starr. And do the kids these days even know who Bart Starr is? Derek, do you know who Bart Starr is?
You know what number he wore to?
No, don't ask me that.
See?
That's not fair.
Yeah,
I don't even know that.
Oh,
I'm not a number person. That's actually the worst. I will
15.
The worst thing about my ball knowledge, I don't care what number someone wears. You could ask me what number someone wears. I don't know. I have no idea.
And to be sure, I don't even know if he wore that at Alabama, to be sure.
So that's my whole point, is think about all the dynasty. Okay, I'm going to make a point here. The dynasty teams of Alabama, you have guys that have underperformed in the NFL from those teams. The best college football team to ever be assembled was the Tim Tebow Florida team. And Tim Tebow sucked in the NFL. He converted to a tight end at one point. It all means nothing. All to say, think your lucky stars that Drake May is a New England Patriot. Let's hit a quick break. 617-779-0985 is the number. When we come back, we're going to do in or out a little bit late because we had a guest and we were rambling. But that's what we're going to do next. Give us a call. Anything you want. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
At one local bank, local is everything. It's the stories behind the storefront.
The second day of joint practices between the Eagles and the Patriots continued today. Quarterback Drake May going 10 of 18 in 11 on 11 drills. Wide receiver A.J. Brown scored 5 touchdowns in red zone drills this afternoon, all of them coming against Quinyon Mitchell. We have some preseason football tonight. The first game of the evening, the Raiders and the Texans currently underway. Houston up 17-3 against the Raiders. Fernando Mendoza throwing a pick 6 early in this game. The late game will be between the 49ers and the Chargers, kicking off at 10 p.m. And in Red Sox news, Rafael Devers will make his return to Fenway Park tomorrow night for the Red Sox series against the Giants. Chris Cotillo reporting that Trevor Story is not expected to be on the Major League roster for tomorrow's game. And in the world of F1, Woody Johnson of the New York Jets is set to become a member of the board of directors for the Aston Martin F1 team. Sports Hub headlines were brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Don't put off losing weight this summer. Reach your goal during the easiest season for weight loss. Awaken 180, the official weight loss program of summer. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update is around 9:30. And in the world of F1,
Three legendary franchises on one legendary radio station. It's the Sports Hub.
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
welcome back to the Joe Show. No Joe Murray this evening. Kendra Middleton filling in for him a little bit late, but obviously, you know, we have to do the Joe Show bits because they're the best parts of these shows, in my humble opinion. So we're going to do in or out here. George was in charge of the in or out topics tonight. As always, I have no idea what is coming. George, take it away. Derek, you want to join?
Yeah, no, I prepped him on this as well, too. So if he's on anything, we're going to get him involved as well.
Go for it. Let's do it.
We're doing round table over here. We're getting loose. This is a producer-led segment. Skaz, the great producer of this great program. All right, so
hope you feel better, Skaz.
I know, feel better as well, too. Yeah, Skaz, so good. So good to me as well coming into this position. But hopefully leading the ship not to hit any coral rocks or whatever. All right, so in or out. Kendra. Bruins will play 2 games abroad in Germany next season, as you've highlighted. Cam Neely has spoken recently, and it doesn't sound like he or Sweeney have a consensus for a captain next year. So, Kendra, you're in or out on going a second season in a row without naming a captain?
I'm kind of in on it until somebody steps up and is really a bona fide. Everybody expected it to be Charlie McAvoy, right? But I don't know if he's a bona fide captain to the degree of captains that the Boston Bruins have had and are used to, and that these fans have had and are used to. So until he kind of fills that role, I'm okay with making people work for it. I think that that's, as a coach, the right way to do it. I don't know if it's just there's the vibe that he doesn't want to name a captain because he doesn't think that it's good for this team, or in my opinion, there just is no true guy. So I'm kind of in on it. I think I like the mind games of coaching sometimes.
We'll cue in intern Derek to get his thoughts on it. You're in or out on the Bruins being a second year without naming a captain?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of with you, Kendra. I mean, look at the captains we've had in the years. We had Patrice, we had Chara. Yeah, that's about all I got.
Love it. I'm actually against you guys. My goodness, what's wrong with you guys? We have to name a captain. Go ahead and pick something. Now, who are you going to pick? It's a coin flip. Pasta has the tenure, so he has the seniority over McAvoy. I think McAvoy is just that natural fit, just being a defenseman. So I would elect McAvoy. I don't think that they're waiting for another shoe to drop there. The offseason kind of came and went for the Bruins, so I don't think that they'll be signing or holding their breath on naming an external captain. I just don't know why they're still holding their breath.
I mean, who would you choose between the two?
I would go with McAvoy. Push come to shove, I would pick McAvoy.
See, I think that that's kind of making the point right there, though, the fact that you have a coin flip option of who should be your captain.
I wish they would have just done it last year.
I think that would have been the answer, but I don't think that he was ready. And to be honest, after everything that happened to him last year with the injuries and everything he suffered from, there is no true answer. And I think that being a captain of any team, let alone a professional sports team, is just such an honor that unless, especially if like a team like the Bruins, unless there is a bona fide true answer, no question asked, this is our leader, I don't think you can do it. And to be honest, I don't know if the read of the room, there is a true captain right now, whether it's just to us, the consumer, or in the locker room, because there's more to being a captain than just being a leader on the ice. You've got to be a leader in the locker room. And I don't know, maybe that's what's holding Charlie McAvoy, if not both of these guys, back. I'm not there. I don't cover the team. I don't interact with these guys on a daily basis. This is really a question for Ty Anderson, I think, at the end of the day. But who do you think is a better leader in the locker room? And I just don't know that answer.
And I'm a traditionalist as well, so it just annoys me to not name anybody. It reminds me of 06. They got rid of the captain in Joe Thornton, and they just went the rest of the year kind of without. I think that's the last time they kind of went without the rudderless ship. All right, so moving on. Tom Brady spoke on his Instagram this week about making the preseason great again. All right, so Kendra, you in or out on starters playing, on your team's starters playing in the preseason?
No, I'm out on starters playing in the preseason. I think the trend that we've seen is, and we talked about it earlier this evening, is the joint practices really being the meat of the preseason. And if the NFL wants to find ways to monetize off of that, it's going to have to be. I saw someone on Twitter say that they should turn the preseason joint practices into something we can consume, like March Madness. So you have the joint practices on NFL Network the same way that you do, the early games of March Madness when there's still a bunch of teams, so people have something to consume during the day, because I think that that's something that as people who watch sports we fall in love with, right? It's like when the World Cup is going on, there's so many games that we just love having something available to consume at all points of the day. Same thing with March Madness, same thing with the Olympics. If the NFL was smart, people want to see the best players. People want to see the good guys. They want to see the names that they recognize. So if that's how you're going to want to make money as a league, I think that that's where we're going to have to transition, because these preseason games are awesome for people like me and Barth that love college football and spend our weekends consuming it, and the draft and prepping, and Barth knowing who the fringe guys on every single roster are. But that's not the average NFL fan. So some of these games, unless you're watching like a Fernando Mendoza, don't really mean anything to the average consumer. So I think if the NFL wants to keep their pulse on the fan and making money, that's where we're going to have to go.
I have a follow-up segue on that as well. Derek, we'll cue you up on that, though. Would you want starters on your team playing in the preseason?
Absolutely. I love the format right now of the 4 weeks and gradually getting them in the game more. I don't know if you mentioned trying to cut down the preseason to 2 games, but I want to keep it 4. I like the gradual progression of getting the starters in the games. And I do think the preseason games are nice for the sickos. They love to see the end of the bench guys get on the field and react to, I don't know, Barth loves to react to Bryce Behringer punt hang times.
It's awesome. I love it.
I did an article on Khalil Jacobs, like seeing him get reps. Eli Raridon, love to see him get on the field and play a bunch of reps. Like, these preseason games are great for the football fans.
Okay, but does the average NFL fan want to watch Drake May go out there and just, you as a consumer, sit on your couch, pace around the living room, sweat, and scream that he's out there against God knows who on the offensive line, playing maybe question mark starters, not starters on the other side? They're ready to hit somebody that's not their own teammate. I sit there when starters are in for my team and scream, bubble wrap, bubble wrap, bubble wrap now.
Get down, right. To your point, Derek, yeah, they've already cut it down from 4 to 3. So to the segue question I have for you guys, are you ready to sacrifice a preseason game, go to the 2-week preseason for that 18-game NFL schedule?
Okay, so I have very hot takes on this. I want them to switch to the shortened preseason, go to the extended season, have 2 bye weeks, and then have that extra week in between the playoffs. But what I think they're trying to do this year is it sucks that the Super Bowl, for people out there who care about Valentine's Day. I love Valentine's Day, even though I have predominantly been single in my adult life. I think it's a day, sure, it's for couples or whatever, but I think it's a day to be like, you know what, tell the homies you love them, because we don't do that enough, and that's what I do, and you should as well. But I think the NFL is just getting ahead of moving, 1, the season extending, but 2, moving the Super Bowl to that weekend. People are really upset that this is on Valentine's Day, but what you're not thinking about is that is President's Day weekend. So the NFL is maximizing their consumption by putting it on a holiday weekend so that you don't have to go to work on Monday. You can drink, stay up late, continue to consume their product, and not have to worry about taking the day off or being hungover at work the next day. It's actually a genius move from the NFL for them and fans. But when you shorten the preseason, extend the regular season, you're going to have 2 bye weeks, but that's going to make it so that the Super Bowl eventually stays on that holiday weekend.
What say you, Derek?
I know that I am probably on my own rock shouting to the moon because I know this is happening, but I am so out on 18 games. I don't think there's any good reason besides money. I think the schedule is perfect as it is right now. This is a very high contact sport. Look at all the preseason injuries we already have. You want them to go another week and add another game of high contact football and then expect them to still go through the playoffs. I do like the President's Day maximization of football. I am in on that, but I am totally out on the 18-week season.
But if they do 2 bye weeks?
No.
Because then you don't have to worry about getting screwed whether you're getting a bye week too early or too late.
I like where the football season ends right now. So this is assuming that the football season goes on longer towards March and such.
It would still be so the Super Bowl would still be that second week of February, so
Right,
it falls on
later.
President's Day, so people have that day off. Like, that is a set in stone thing that the NFL wants to be able to maximize their product consumption.
Stuff. I'm in agreement with Derek. He's an old soul, but I think that the pigs, when getting fed, and hogs get slaughtered when they're overfed, and I think.
But that's why we're seeing the salary cap go up, is because people are going to be playing longer and more games.
Right. I think injuries, though, have gone they've been so drastic, and then playing surfaces, things like that, especially that the World Cup was in. I think if we can get more of the natural playing surfaces and maybe injuries to be down to less of the freak injuries and the non-contact injuries, then maybe it will be the natural progression I want to see. It's already naturally progressing that way, to your point. So I could totally foresee this by the end of this decade or the next CBA, what have you. So I think we're just going to have to prepare for it, unfortunately. And
the sickos like me and Barth are ready.
You win. You guys win. All right, so keep it moving here. Keep it lighthearted and away from sports here before we segue to something that you may have for the in and out. For us, Columbia House is going away, known for the old penny for a dozen CD scam. I don't know if you have a CD player. Well, I do not have a CD player in my latest vehicle. Okay, I traded in my old hunk of junk, and to my dismay, didn't have a CD player. All right, so Kendra, you in or out on CD players being eliminated from newer vehicles?
Okay, I heard 5 questions that have nothing to do with sports earlier today and them talking about this. I don't even know what that word means. I don't know.
Compact disc, right?
I have no idea what they were talking about. I have no clue.
That was a little bit before our time, the penny for
You
a dozen
definitely
CDs.
don't either, right?
CD players?
I know what CD players are, but the
Yeah.
way that they're talking about whatever, what is the thing?
Yeah, the Columbia House.
I'm not
It was
familiar
kind
with
of
that
like
company,
if you think of like Scholastic's news, the things you'd get for like book fairs and stuff. You'd go ahead and you'd fill out a pamphlet of CDs. Go ahead and check it out. I don't know. I think you had to do like some initial lump sum or down the line, and that's where they got people would just make up names and go ahead and load themselves on that. I miss CDs. I tell you. You used to have to pay for your music. You used to, you couldn't be the cool kid. Without,
Dude, the computers I fried with LimeWire.
Before Napster,
Do you know what LimeWire is, Derek?
I am not familiar with LimeWire.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the transition from CDs to Spotify, there was something, how have you ever heard of Apple, iTunes?
Yeah.
Okay,
iTunes,
so
yeah.
back in the day, you used to have to pay $1 for every single song.
Yes.
And every person ever knows a couple thousand songs, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have the newest song that came out or old songs or whatever, you had to pay $1 per song.
Mm-hmm.
So back when we were low-key coding to be on MySpace, people found something called FrostWire or LimeWire, and it basically would kill your your parents' computer, but you could download free music to your iPod.
Oh yeah, it was like those Russian websites,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And so the amount of just crap that would eat your parents' computer in the computer room away because you were downloading free music, which at the end of the day, computers used to be cheap. You were probably saving your parents some money from like whatever virus would eat your computer instead of Apple Music.
And I grew up in a day and age with bootleg CDs as well. You get 3 for $10 if you know a certain store. So I just miss, you had to pay to have that access, and now we could just have anything at our disposal, and we're more clueless than ever as a generation. So it just.
But
I'm upset that I can't access CDs and put in put in my own.
Do you
music.
not have Spotify?
Oh well, I do. I have Bluetooth.
So
and
why
those
do you
kind of
want to
things
have
connected.
a
I
CD?
just want to be old school and not have the phone connected to my vehicle if I could help it. I'm an old school guy.
I remember sitting in my parents' car and them having a song stuck in their head and them being like, yeah, can you grab the notebook of CDs out of the back seat and find this one random disc? No, I don't want to do that. I want to tell Siri, hey, I want to listen to whatever right now, and her being like, yep, on it. I'm in on them removing CDs. We're so far removed from that.
The algorithm has beaten you. They've conquered you.
But I will say, it's not often that we see a W come from new technology, but thank God for the EU telling Apple, hey, you can't keep screwing people over. We're going to sue you. Everything has to be USB-C now. Cars, like all of that crap. Eventually, hopefully, it will be airplanes too. Thank God for them, because now Apple can't continue to screw us over, and I'm happy with that.
One of the big changes, right, to go away from the Apple charges to the USB-C. Kendra, do you have an internet to take us home here?
I do. So before you were filling in, Skaz and I had been pre-texting this week about potential in or out stuff. And you guys know, if you listen to me or you know me at all, that I am the biggest Waffle House fan in the entire world. It is my favorite restaurant. It is my death row meal. Waffle House announced earlier this week that they are testing the sale of tacos at Waffle House. Are we in or out on the taco house?
I would say if it's a chicken taco, I might be in. So I would talk myself into it if there was a chicken aspect, maybe even a breakfast component with the shell and maybe some maple going on. I could talk myself into it. If you just think taco and chicken Waffle House, you might not go. But the more I think about it, I'd be in on it.
Derek?
I have never been to a Waffle House.
That's crazy.
I know. I'm out on the tacos.
Me too. I'm also out. It's the Waffle House, not the taco house.
Yeah.
You can give me like a, crappy cheeseburger off the griddle. Like, I'm chill with that. But that's about as far as I go outside of breakfast food. I've never ordered anything but breakfast food from Waffle House. And I ate there almost every single night in college. Because I don't know if you guys know this about me. I didn't eat meat until my mid-20s. I was a vegetarian growing up, was veganing for 5 years in college. So I worked at a bar, paid my way through school working at a bar. And the only thing open in Auburn, Alabama late night after the bar is closed is obviously the Waffle Home. So I would go there every single night when I would get off of work, get a double hash brown, extra crispy. They knew me by name, knew my order when I sat down, and would turn my hash browns into a heart, because I went there so often and was besties with all of the cooks. So I am out on the taco house. It is the Waffle Home. Okay, let's take this call before we hit the break. Paul wants to talk about the Bruins captain situation. Maybe. Hello, Paul.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Yeah, I've been a Bruins fan since I was an infant. I'm out on the Bruins not having a captain going into this year. In what world has David Pastrnak not earned the right to this captaincy? I think he's done everything that, the coaches, the front office has asked of him, last year, the year before. I mean, the guy has shown up in the biggest moments. He scored some of the biggest goals in, franchise history, I would say. I just think that he's got to be the captain going into this season. Thanks, guys.
Of course. Thanks for the call, Paul. I'll take an argument either way, but I think that that's kind of the whole point, is that when you want a captain, you don't want to take an argument either way between, McAvoy and Pastrnak. I think that that's kind of the whole point.
Who doesn't love a good old sports debate, right?
No, seriously, I do. But I think that that's kind of the whole conversation, is that I think half of this fan base would say Pasta, and I think the other half would say McAvoy. And I think that that's kind of the whole issue here. But that's just me personally. Like, I will take a conversation to either. I don't have a preference, but I think, kind of question is, sure, we can see leadership on the ice, but what's the leadership in the locker room? That's the question.
And I'll sleep in my black and gold footy pajamas just the way Paulie did as well. I can make an argument for both. Pasternak with that longevity, I feel like he's earned it as well. I feel like Brad Marchand was kind of this castaway, and what would it look like after Bergeron? And I think Pasta kind of fits that mold. And then McAvoy's just that natural fit. So I could see them both, and I'll sleep comfortably with my black and gold footy pajamas at night.
I don't think either would be a bad option. I think that at the end of the day, either way that it inevitably eventually goes, I don't think either of them are a bad option.
That they went through a whole year without it, and then the similar roster and the same situation this year coming up.
Agree. So anything you want, whether you want to talk about the Bruins, anything in or out, when we come back, we're going to give George a Red Sox minute. We're going to talk about some chemistry things that could be changing with this team as they get healthy again. I want to know if you guys think that Rafael Devers is going to get booed tomorrow. The Giants coming to Fenway Park for a series. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Why is a hot dog called a glizzy?
I don't question it. I'm just on the bandwagon.
the Sports Hub.
Little pop-up at first, backing up Tawa. Second baseman comes over. Tawa makes the catch, and that's the ball game. It ends in 10. Arizona salvages 1 in the series. Red Sox take the series, but drop this one today 7-6. A much-needed day off on Thursday. The Giants of Rafi Devers coming in on Friday.
All right, welcome back to the Joe Show. No Joe tonight. Kendra Middleton in for him. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. George is very hot on the Red Sox right now, and there's so many things that we could talk about right here. Rafael Devers is obviously coming back to Fenway Park this weekend for a series. Marcelo Mayer also recently traded out to San Francisco. We can talk about this team getting healthy. You know, Roman Anthony finally getting through some of his rehab, probably expected to be back up on the Major League roster soon. The chemistry of all of these things happening. We can talk about, I personally find it very interesting that a topic of conversation has also been, will Rafael Devers get booed tomorrow night? I think that that's something we can also talk about. But I want to start here, George, with kind of a heat check or a vibe check of this team, because a week ago we were talking about how maybe because the American League is so weak, they could be a World Series conversation contender, whatever we want to call it. But things have kind of cooled down. Little bit of a hot and cold series against the Pirates and the D-backs. Now heading into a series this weekend against a bad Giants team. What's kind of the vibe check, heat check after, you know, they went on a super historic run, and a lot of us here at the station, myself, Ryan Garvin particularly, at least in my sphere of the station, very much that this team was going to come crashing back down to earth. I wouldn't say they've come crashing back down to earth, but I certainly don't feel as good about them as I did a couple weeks ago.
That is the sentiment that I am picking up as well. I am in the subdued mode, much along the lines of Ryan Garvin. I'm not here to sing the praises of the Red Sox, sadly. I had the epiphany while they were on their second winning streak, the one of 9 games, I believe, that they had gone on to post All-Star break, which is all great and exciting stuff that they're able to kind of continue the run, and the All-Star break didn't disjoint them. But I already had known that I was going to be like this bearer of bad news, the doom and gloom guy. The way that they were winning these ball games it just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't bode well. I think that small ball and they were winning a lot of the games with manufacturing runs. And I think you kind of see it kind of crawling back down to earth now. It seems like 4 runs or so is kind of this line of demarcation. Now, I will give you grant you that the sentiment going into these end of the games, you're no longer wanting to leave the ballpark, and I'm one to beat traffic. Are
you? I mean, I could see that. You are kind of a dad. You are a dad, but like as far as you as a person,
yes, I'm vanilla. So
yeah.
Yes, I try. I'm serious. Straight to the point.
You have to kick me out of a park.
Oh my goodness! And thankfully, I was there with my brothers who dragged me and saved. And it was the 4-game series for the Yankees. I can kind of blame the brothers. They wanted to take me out for Father's Day. They wanted it to be Red Sox Yankees. My brother's a Yankees fan. He was raised wrong. He was
okay. Wait, how is he raised wrong, but you raised right?
My father's Red Sox fan.
Okay.
So you should be with your grown up in this area. He took the route of my mother's side of the family, Bronx and contrarian. So somewhere he flipped along and then fell on his head. And
I can't fault him for being a mommy's boy.
Yeah, she was raised right as well. She took my father's side as well, though. So this is really his cousins and out of left field for him to bandwagon.
Rebellious.
Right.
Is he the black sheep?
Middle child.
Okay, yeah, middle child makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Middle child syndrome. So
got to be different to stand out.
Right. And I told him, and I'm very humble about it. The whole Yankees chance.
Wait, Derek, are you a middle child?
Yes, I am.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I told him. I was like, yeah, no. It doesn't stick out, though. He's very old soul. I'm loving Derek.
Anyways.
Yes. So when it comes to the Red Sox and the family in particular, I was very subdued. Yankees chants breaks out during the game as well. I'm trying to calm people down. It's outrageous to me, right? Look at the standings. I'm not that person to rub salt in the wound. And if you're looking up, there's no way you can kick upwards. It's just outrageous to me. So concerns with me, their offense is what it is there. The way that the Red Sox are going to have to win, the way their identity is going to have to be the arms, to be sure. Now, the bullpen injuries concern me. So Whitlock's a big one, Slayton. How are they going to piecemeal it to get to Chapman in the ninth inning is a big concern of mine. But then just also the starters in general, Tolle and Bennett, the toll on them, young pitchers carrying the load, largest innings in their career, kind of the obvious things. But how are they going to pan out? We've seen kind of a little rough patch with Tolle. Now, the Red Sox were able to pick him up.
I was going to say, that's kind of my question to you. Considering how the last, week and a half has gone, they're getting healthier, which obviously was the expectation.
Nice.
But is there still, because of how the last 10 or so days have gone, an expectation that the chemistry will be thrown off by getting healthier? Or do you think that they need these guys to come back in order to get back on track before the Yankees series?
It's a great question because I think that the timing is right for these guys to come back. Now, Story's kind of the big outlier. It's we all want him to be DFA'd. Ideally, if we can just sit him down for the next couple weeks and stall that and just have it be a September call-up as opposed to making a roster move where you're kind of having it's an undeserving kind of a situation to send Sogard back down or somebody who's kind of earned it, to sit Monasterio or platoon him with the Story. I would put Anthony, and I want him back right away. What he did in Portland, it sounds like he's going to be ready to go. It looks like they're going to play him today, tomorrow.
What do you think about the rumors of him being out and about in Portland at night?
Oh, my goodness. They traded away his buddy in Meyer, but I don't mind any of that. I think he's young. As long as he's single and not hurting anybody, that's what we do as young men, I wish I could go back to my prime years.
I don't know. If you were paying me the amount of money they're paying him, I would sit my ass at home.
Well, especially what's going on in this world, right? You never know what's out there, but I have no problem with that. As long as he's taking care of himself and being responsible, that's good teammate stuff if he's taking his teammates out as well. So,
I don't know if boozing's the best. Whatever. All right.
Well, he's hitting the ball the way he is and tattooing it in Portland. That home run was a titanic blast. I'm waiting for that and inserting him right away. Now, with him in the lineup, I'm iffy when it comes to leading him off. I don't want to lead him off, ideally. I don't think he's a leadoff hitter, but going back to like the Nomar days when he was first coming up, he was everywhere in the lineup. He was everything to us before we got Manny Ramirez in 01. So like 97, 98, 99. I distinctly remember Nomar batting first, third, fourth. Ideally, I'd put Roman work his way to be the number 3 hitter, just because I think Rushman would be better suited to be a 5th or 6th hitter. But Roman, if I can put him in 5th or 6th in the lineup, kind of ease his way up there. That's ideally what I want to do. I feel like, sadly, though, they're going to lean the way of leadoff. The whole statistics of being the worst.
I feel like they can't. I was going to ask you.
More at-bats.
Speaking of Adley, what would you grade him since his return?
That's a great question as well, because it's obviously underwhelming, but, what he had done lately, as of late, I think he's taken the turn. I heard him post-game after when he first got in the first couple hits, and he sounded like a catcher, in terms of the preparation and how he's learning the different arms that he has as starters, but not just starters, relievers. It seems like he has command of the staff, which is what I want to see in a catcher. We won't do any fat shaming here. He did not look as svelte.
I think we're allowed to when you're a professional athlete because your job is to be in shape. I will not fat shame any civilian. I will question your decisions at times, but when you're a professional athlete, unfortunately, I think that the shape you are in is fair game.
I don't mind it too much from catcher, first base, pitcher, third base even. So him being a catcher, it's like, that's fine. I understand he does need to be in shape. Not as pudgy though as the shows around here you would think he is as well. So he doesn't have to lose weight or go on any diet or anything like that. I think that he's been being a switch hitter. I've seen him mostly the left side of the plate. It's still some stuff to be desired, but I think that he's getting it in gear, and that number 1 overall pick is showing. So I am high on him. Hopefully,
what's the grade?
If I'm going to give a grade outright, B-.
Okay, that is fair to me. I will take a B-. All right, Chad Tracy. Thoughts? Should he be no longer interim?
That's a great question as well, too. I say that they, Chad Tracy and Craig Breslow, and this is to the point of Jared Carrabas. Shout out to Section 10 boys. They had the MLB account reference them as well, too. With the
I saw this.
So shout out to Section 10 boys. I I think Chad Tracy and Craig Breslow's future are kind of attached to the hip. I've been impressed with Tracy, to be sure. The one thing I've had to come to Jesus moment when it comes to the Red Sox, Kendra, is I'm an Alex Cora guy. I don't think Cora could have done what Chad Tracy has done. I had to admit that.
Okay, 2 more rapid fire questions for you. Realistic expectation for the rest of the season.
Excellent. I would say sky's the limit. As long as the pitching is there, I think they can win with the pitching and the occasional offense. I think that they can compete with anybody. So I would say sky is the limit. I'm excited for the postseason. With a grain of salt, to be sure. I could see them eliminated in that wild card round, and it looks like it's going to be destined to be Yankees, Red Sox. Hopefully, we can usurp them, have it be a Fenway. It'd be a lot bigger difference in my eyes. But I think on paper we can compete with anybody.
All right, and tomorrow night, more cheers or more boos for Rafael Devers?
Sadly, more boos. They in both ways, right? Pun intended. They've been booing Contreras, not running down the line. They're probably going to boo Devers for the way he had exited. Now, it wasn't his fault. I mean, when it came to the Father's Day stuff, they were coming off a sweep of the Yankees. They had won like 6 out of 8. So I didn't agree with the decision to trade him at the time. However, I've just come around on this the same way I have with the Cora firing. You know what? The Red Sox, they seem to play better, even though they were on a winning streak when they traded Devers. To note that. Seems like they righted the ship last year, and then this year, a year later, we're doing okay. So the Red Sox are in an okay place, and it is a credit to Breslow. I wouldn't mind seeing him extended, and just because you don't want to blow things up and hit reset. So I think that's probably the safer approach. But I don't agree with the philosophy. Since the Betts trade and this kind of middlemaning things and this pitching and defense that they've fallen into by accident, I don't agree with the philosophy. They're going to have to open up the wallets if they're going to compete
we'll see how that goes.
Right, maximize the window that they're currently in.
All right, that is our Red Sox Minute. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. Let's hit a quick headline, a break, and when we come back, it is time for us to muse, baby. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, the second day of joint practices between the Patriots and the Eagles continued today. Drake May going 10 of 18 in the 11-on-11s. A.J. Brown scoring 5 touchdowns in red zone drills this afternoon. All of
Around here, we call them the Joe Murray Pre-Party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
You want a random take? Murray's got all sorts on stuff in the world unrelated to sports. So sit back, relax, and get your mind in the game and listen to the words of a grown man complaining.
Welcome back to 98.5, the Sports Hub. Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray for a little bit over another hour here with you until 11 o'clock. We got the People's Champ George in. We got intern Derek here. And it is time to muse, my friends. This is, if you are new here, a segment where we just complain about stuff. And I want to preface this by saying this is going to come across political. And in today's current climate, everything is political, okay? So let's drop that at the door. This is going to sound political, and to a degree it is, and I'm going to make it a little bit political, but it is what I would like to complain about right now, okay? It's almost like firing everyone who is in charge of our food supply and making sure that it is okay for people to consume is a bad idea, because the whole concept of this plan was to make us healthy, right? And as someone who has a red 40 allergy, before all of these private equity everything came in, the idea was that they were gonna, ban crap like that in the US. And guess what? Private equity wins. All of this crap is going to stay in our food. And to make matters worse, we fired everybody. And now anything that's healthy for you is being recalled. Today, the FDA upgraded blueberries to a possible link to death of consumption. And now they're coming out and saying that the Publix Greenwise mixed berry is the most dangerous version of this that you can consume right now, which how many people, whether you're a snowbird here and whatever, you live in Florida and you're consuming this, or you split time or whatever, consume things like that on a daily basis. Today as well, sourdough bread recalled for potentially having shards of metal. A couple weeks ago, lettuce was giving us diarrhea. The list of what we can eat right now is probably shorter, to be honest. But you know what we can eat? Because of all this crap? McDonald's. We can certainly eat that, even though the entire mission of all of this was to make us healthier and less fat. We're never getting universal health care now, because we are too fat, and they're just going to continue to do this and feed us slop and put us on Ozempic. And that is kind of my complaint, is that I don't know what I can eat right now. I'm an almond mom. I am a healthy eater. Speaking of, I actually am going to get my watermelon out of the fridge, because that's one of the things I think I can eat. Who knows? Maybe I can't tomorrow.
Sad, because blueberries are brain food.
They're my dog's favorite food. How am I going to look at him and say, sorry, buddy, no TREATs this week because they might kill us? Who's to say? I'm so confused and so annoyed by all of this. Like, we have things in place to prevent this from happening. It's almost like that was a terrible idea. And so I just want to go to the grocery store and not spend $300 on a week's worth of groceries and know that I can eat it and it's not going to make me crap my pants or kill me. And also not give me diabetes.
Simple ask.
Yeah. So that's my, I think, main muse of the moment. And this is also political, but we're living in a surveillance state, and I'm also tired of that. Is anything normal anymore?
Internet and screenagers.
Are you dealing with that?
I am dealing with that, yeah. 16 and 13. That seems, as soon as they wake up, that's what it's about. But
that's a good word.
Yeah. Shout out to Mia. I'm going to miss those Mia Mondays and learning all this kind of verbiage. I look forward to calling them out in their faces. It's a different kind of world that we live in, though, to be sure. You would think with all this information at your disposal, we'd be a lot smarter as a people, but no, apparently not the case.
You're a parent. I'm not a parent. There are parents listening to this, and I would like your opinion if you would like to give it. I don't know what is better or worse anymore, giving them the technology or not giving them the technology. Because I know my brother's kids, for example, they're no longer using textbooks in school. And I think that using a textbook is, a rite of passage. You need to see a penis drawn on page 78 on, like a picture of a pyramid for growth purposes. Right. But they're now using iPads. And so if you're going to elementary school and you haven't been introduced to an iPad, you are now behind in school because you don't know how to use the technology. So it almost feels like I don't know if I can say damned if you do and damned if you don't on the radio.
Right.
I think you can. I'm not sure.
It's a balancing act, I would say, though. Yeah, you can't be offensive. You got to make a decision.
Yeah, but it's like you are almost really setting your kid up for failure by not putting an iPad in their hands.
I agree as well, too. It's ridiculous the way, I don't want to use anal in that way, but how anal some of these parents are in terms of the strictness. Now, I like to monitor, their usage, and also if they do anything that's out of line, that's the punishment. I'm taking that away, and then that's that. They are very... They're well behaved. They're at least behaved enough to where I still believe that there's innocence there. So I haven't lost them completely yet to the fast teenage lifestyle, to be sure. But two girls there at home, and God bless them both. They still have that innocence.
I was gonna say it's almost like they don't even have to be creative to get away with the things that we did as kids. So like I know for me, I was raised on Omegle. Like, I don't know if anybody else out there...
I wouldn't know.
Do you know what Omegle is?
No.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so my generation of kids, when the internet was still, like, fast and loose, you didn't... Like, there was no... Like, parents had no idea, like, what was actually out there. There was this... There were two different websites, one of them being Omegle, where it was, like, a global website, and you just went on it. And you were immediately paired with somebody else, just screen time on this website. And sometimes it's literally the exact same thing as chat roulette. Those were the two options. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what either of these are, it was just there were people who would log on to this website. And it was the wild, wild west. Sometimes you would get another kid your age. Sometimes you would get a dude with his pants down and his hand, doing stuff, or just like anything. Just another person, and you could just keep clicking through to see who else was there, what else was out there. That's what me and my friends did. And we also had to be creative because when we got in trouble, back then you had like SIM cards in your phone. And so your parents would take your phone away, but you would just take the SIM card out and you'd have an old phone that was a burner hidden in your room. Smart. So that you could still talk to your friends.
Smart.
I remember...
I've caught the oldest with that.
Oh,
I've snuck it out of the pillow. Yeah, she was... It was grounded kind of a thing for like a week or whatever, but she with good grades, and you can kind of I'm soft, so she got me back on track.
I was gonna say you used to have to pay per text message and like per minute and stuff like that.
For 7 or 9 o'clock, depending.
Yeah, and then like you would have your house phone, and like you would be like talking to like a boy or like something like that, and you'd want to stay on the phone late at night, but you didn't have a cell phone because your parents would take it, and so you would be like, okay, 11 o'clock. You call me 11 o'clock on the dot. The phone's going to barely ring. My parents won't hear it. I'm going to click talk, and we can stay on the phone, and I'm just going to take all the phones in the house and keep them in my room so my parents can't hear, like, the conversation.
That's a big worry of mine, I would tell you. But me being a sneaky person myself during that age, it's like I get inside a person's house and things like that, and coordinate these things. So I'm hopeful. I have them right next to my room. We're third floor. There's no way they could have, like, the crazy lifestyle that I endured and stuff. So I will definitely pull you off camera, so then that way you can teach me all of these secrets and what I should be looking into for this generation and the Snapchats. And
yeah, we used to have to be so creative. And I will say, because I think that we had to be creative, our generation as parents kind of know the internet well enough to be able to kind of manage that. And I think that's the other thing, is that kids these days are not as, I feel like they're not having sex as young or like doing anything like that. They're like closer with their parents, like teenage pregnancy is down, and thank God. But I just, as much freedom as there is, I think it's making kids more like weenie-like in a weird way.
Right. It's an indictment on really the men of this generation, I'll tell you. We need the Derricks of the world to save because you have a great voice. You go ahead and meet people in person and woo them with that voice. That's what you have to do. Personal interactions. That's what this generation's missing for sure.
All right, let's hit a quick break. 617-779-0985 is the phone number. You can call us on Patriots, Red Sox, football that's happening right now. We got another game kicking off in a minute. If you want to call us about parenting, if you want to talk about Omegle, let's do it. 617-779-0985. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray.
All right, party people, the second day of joint practices between your Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles continued today. Drake May going 10 of 18 in the 11-on-11s. Of note, Patriots receiver A.J. Brown did score 5 touchdowns in red zone drills this afternoon, all of them coming against Quinyon Mitchell. We have some preseason football going on right now. Currently, Houston is leading the Las Vegas Raiders 20-3. Fernando Mendoza did play the first half and had a pick 6 in the game early on. We also, any minute now, are going to have kickoff between the San Francisco 49ers visiting the Los Angeles Chargers. And in some Red Sox news, Rafael Devers will make his return to Fenway Park tomorrow for their series against the Giants. Chris Cotillo reporting that Trevor Story isn't expected to be on the Major League roster for tomorrow's game. Sports Hub headlines were brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Don't put off losing weight this summer. Reach your goal during the easiest season for weight loss. Awaken 180, the official weight loss program of summer. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, Boston's home for sports. I'm Kendra Middleton, and your next update is in 30 minutes.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Welcome back to 98.5 The Sports Hub. Kendra Middleton, Philip Middleton. I don't even know my own name anymore. It's 10 o'clock on a Thursday. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray. I can't talk, but some of you out there clearly have been following me on the internet because it is no secret that I am a giant Formula One fan. But I have, despite growing up 45 minutes away from the Daytona 500, have never been to a NASCAR race. I'm going to the Dollar Tree 300 this weekend, baby, and I am going to be in booty shorts, cowboy boots, and something camo. I don't know what, maybe some leather. It's supposed to rain. I asked you guys online for your tips for someone attending their first NASCAR race. I did order earplugs, but Neil in Chicago is calling in to give me some advice for my first NASCAR race. Hello, Neil.
Hi, Kendra. I didn't know I was giving you advice, but I guess I can give you some. Definitely bring some sunscreen. A bucket hat is a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, don't be sitting in the stands in the sun. You'll be struggling out there.
Okay, good to know.
My question is, I just want to know your picks for this weekend at New Hampshire. I'd also like to know your picks for Zandvoort if you want to lay those out.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the call. I do not know anything about NASCAR. Literally nothing at all. I am not a NASCAR fan. I don't pretend to be. I will take y'all's picks if you want to give me something to cheer for this weekend, because I truly have no idea. As far as the F1 race this weekend, I was going to do a different segment here, and we were going to do F1 next segment, but let's talk about it right now since you're asking. I truly think that some of the contracts signed this week were shocking. One of them being Max Verstappen. If you don't know who he is, he's basically like one of the best drivers of all time. I would say probably the third or fourth best driver of all time, but he's currently the leader on the track, the best raw natural driver on the track. He just signed an extension with Red Bull to stay with them through 2030, when a lot of people thought that he was probably going to jump ship for Mercedes because the team principal of that team and him are rather close, and he's also really close with Max's father. During the summer break, they were seen on this team principal's yacht together. Just been a lot of rumors surrounding that for quite some time. So I was personally shocked to see Max extend his contract with Red Bull through 2030. Another surprise coming this weekend would be Williams extending both of their drivers, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, to rather large contracts for a team that's not as competitive as some of the other major teams. I'm a big fan of both of those guys. I'm happy they got their bag. But for picks this weekend, I would say, considering Max signed a big extension, I would probably chase a Max podium. I know that he's underperformed this season, But anytime someone signs any kind of contract, anytime some good news happens, something like that, I kind of like to follow the guy who just went through whatever that news or signing or something like that would be, especially a guy like Max Verstappen. You're probably going to get pretty decent value on him. So I would say Max, especially at a track that, fits him, suits him well, and he's had success at prior. I would say I would be chasing a Max podium this weekend, depending on the price. Haven't quite got there yet. Usually like to watch free practices and stuff like that leading up to a race weekend, but that's probably where my head's going to be at. I can't pretend to be a NASCAR fan, but let's go to more NASCAR talk. Let's go to Bradley in Danvers. Hello, Bradley.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you? I'm
all right. I was in bed and I heard you guys talking about NASCAR. I had to hop on. I'm a huge NASCAR fan.
All right, give me the tea.
Not many people. You need to root for Carson Hocevar, okay? He's young. He's like feisty. Some people get mad at him. I really think he's a bright future in the sport. He's like a very aggressive driver.
Okay. All right. Any tips for me this weekend? Oh, did he hang up?
You can call back.
All right.
Me pulling the trigger there. I'm sorry.
All right. Maybe I'll put in a little sneaky sweaty bet or something this weekend. I got to look at the numbers. I don't know anything about NASCAR.
Looking at Carson, though, I see a nice little cowboy hat for number 77 there.
Okay, number 77. That's a little weird. Who's he sponsored by? Do we know? I want to pick somebody with cool sponsors. The Dollar Tree 300 is sick. I'll let you look up his sponsors while I go to Don in Rhode Island, who wants to say the kids don't have freedom. Don?
Yes, hey then. No, I was in sixth grade. I'm 66. Grew up in a town of 6,000 people. In sixth grade, we told our teachers we were going home for lunch and just walked out the door. Went over to a little convenience store that Merle Turnipseed ran, got some bologna, some soda, went back and were king of the playground because we were first on the playground for the second shift. That can't happen today. And at sixth grade, we were already developing independence. So I wish kids today had the freedom to do that. Unfortunately, they don't. So I wish everyone luck in that regard because we give up our freedoms too easily.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bradley. I appreciate it. I think that there's like a weird definition of freedom. Also, touchdown Dylan Laube, UNH legend for the Raiders right now. Let's go.
Love the little touchdown.
Go Cats. Shout out. But yeah, to his point, I think like the freedom thing is a little bit different, right? Like you have freedom of like the online and the fact that like there's like everything is at your fingertips. But this generation kind of just gives the energy that like you'll body slam a cop, but you're too scared to ask for extra ketchup at a restaurant. Do you feel that way as a dad of this generation?
I totally agree with that. Just human interaction is just way down. And then just awkwardness when it comes to doing mundane things, making phone calls and of that nature, interviewing for jobs, that are on the horizon for the 16-year-old in particular. Carson Hocevar, Spectrum is his primary sponsorship. True story. I used to work for a Spectrum call center out in Worcester before.
Does he have any other notable sponsors?
Ziegler
or no?
Auto Group.
No idea.
And Minor.
I don't know who any. All right.
Spire Motorsports.
You know what? You called in. I'm going to root for your guy and the guy that you told me to. But I also need to find somebody with like 6 sponsors. And I don't mean like the biggest sponsors out there. I'm looking for like random. Like the fact that I'm going to the Dollar Tree 300. I want to scream for something that is equivalent to that. It's crazy because my friend and I were having a conversation about this. So many of people of like the older generation hate tattoos and they love to say, well, would you put a bumper sticker on a Bentley? And her and I were both having the conversation of, well, what if I don't want to be a Bentley? The most expensive cars are F1 cars and NASCAR cars. And they have sponsors and logos and everything everywhere. So maybe I want to be an F1 car, Mom.
NASCAR driver.
Every time I go home, my mom's like, ugh, why do you have all these new tattoos? And I'm like, sorry, Mom, I like them. I don't know what to tell you. I've been doing a show with Garvin I've been here for almost 3.5 years, and Garvin's been my producer for like a year of them. And him and I were talking about tattoos last week and how we both really want to go to Japan. And one of the things to do in Japan is go to the onsens, but there you can't have tattoos and you have to cover them. And I said something of like, oh yeah, like you and I would really be screwed if we were like to go to Japan for that reason. And he was like, why would you be screwed? And I was like, Garvin, I have over 20 tattoos. What do you mean? And he was like, I didn't know you had tattoos. I was like, you see me every Saturday for over a year now. What do you mean?
I've heard you talk about them, but they are well concealed to Garvin's point.
I have kind of like mini sleeves. I don't know how well concealed that is.
We had to this or that. It was up for interpretation. Piercings or tattoos?
Is it bad that I don't have I don't have
I love that you're giggling.
I don't have body jewelry.
I took it that route as well. I was kind of normal with it, ears and piercings of that nature. But if it was going to be just a singular thing, I'm probably still going to elect for piercing, even if it is a body piercing over a tattoo. I'm that guy. I'm natural skinned, whatever.
You know what? It's 10:15. We can talk about these things. As someone who has experienced
both,
yeah, I don't like a nipple piercing. They taste weird. Not my thing. Not my vibe. I don't want to taste metal. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to throw my brother under the bus. I know that he's done that. Yeah, it's crazy though. If we're gonna do multiple of these things, I'd rather be covered in tattoos than have me being a pincushion. So you got me on that.
Yeah, I have ear piercings. Like I have a few. I think in total, I have like 5, which is like nothing. It's not that I think it's not that I think piercings hurt. I don't think tattoos hurt either. The healing process is the turn off for piercings for me, because when you're trying to sleep at night and you're sleeping on your ear, I will never forget my best friend in the whole world. We've been best friends for 20 years. She got her nipples pierced when we were in high school, and every summer we would go away to St. Augustine Beach with her parents, and she got one of them done in the summer. And I'll never forget her just like having to sneak into the room to ice like her new piercing, and she was putting on like a knit cover up over like something, and got snagged right after she got it done. And I just remember her like hurling everywhere in pain, and I was cured from that moment. I was like, I never want to go through that healing process ever. And speaking of like young dumb teenagers, there was a point in my life where I tried to pierce my own belly button, and I got like halfway through it, and I was like, do I really want to do this? I don't know if you grew up in like the gauge era too. Right. Like that was like another thing, and now people are having to like get those surgically removed. I have a split in my right ear. Like my first hole ripped so many times that I don't have the cartilage to fix it. And people just assume that I had gauges, and that's how it happened. Yeah, but like no, I just playing sports. I ripped my ear too many times to fix it, and now I don't have any cartilage left. But unless you like really stare at me, you can't really notice. But I have a full-on Pac-Man ear, like just completely split in half.
Thank God we're wearing these headsets and stuff. My goodness. But no, my mother, she has a ripped earlobe. But I think it's the brother to thank for that.
I saw someone in the YouTube chat just say that I'm sure that tattoos look great when you're wrinkled and 80. And my response, I get that all the time, but my response to that is just, if my biggest problem when I'm 80 years old is that my, tattoo that is a bird now looks like a pterodactyl, I guess like that's really not a problem to me. I have to be honest with you.
And that's a me problem because I'm not used to being this big. I'm like 150 right now. I stopped smoking. If you smoke tobacco, thank you. I'm very proud of myself. Cold turkey. But as a skinny man for the majority of my life and being vertically challenged, I was like, oh, tats on me. I'm just not. I don't have the build for it. So I've always had that complex, and my wife loves them, and I'm gonna have to gift her some tattoos.
I was gonna say, you have daughters and everything. That's like an easy thing to get them for.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think they are gonna be into it as well. Sadly, these rebellious generation, but I'll have to relent. They're getting older, and like I said too, I'm proud of them. They've kept their innocence thus far.
As someone who has a lot of tattoos, I will say I do think that the tattoo age should be raised. The things that I got when I was really young, I don't love anymore. But everything that I've gotten since my frontal lobe developed, I'm like, this rules. So
nice. Hopefully I can vet them. I know that they are going to be eager. They already want to dye their hair, do those kind of things. So I've been, taking the strictness of the reins off little by little. And they kind of earned it, though, to be sure, right? They have to earn it.
Yeah, you got to earn it. All right. If you want to call about anything and everything, we'll take it. 617-779-0985. When we come back, I need to talk about how, as fans, For once, I think the expectations around here for the Patriots are too low. This is the city of champions. Everything is championship or bust here. But you guys are really kind of bending the knee to the expectations of the Buffalo Bills winning this division. And I'm going to convince you why I don't think that should be accepted around here. All right, 617-779-0985 is the number. You're listening to Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
to think I have a great palate, and I pander to all my hosts. So.
This album is so good. And I know that the majority of you out there listening are men, probably older men, assumably like late 30s and up. I know that SZA, and if you don't know who she is, SZA, is probably not something you would usually listen to, and a lot of you probably don't like the more rap style music, but that album is so good and totally worth a listen if you are a music appreciator. So I would encourage you to listen to it.
If I can, I like to try to tie the music into whatever we're talking about here, and little Bills talk and Patriots, so be sure.
So before we went to break, I said for once that I think that Patriots fans, and particularly locally and the national media, are not treating the Patriots the way that I think that they should. The Patriots just played in a Super Bowl. Yes, they lost the Super Bowl and lost it in a fashion that was not enjoyable as a local consumer. I have mentioned a few times that I watched the Super Bowl at Hooters in Saugus, Massachusetts, and it got so quiet at one point that you could hear people washing the dishes in the back during the game. That was how awkward it got. However, the Patriots did just make it to a Super Bowl. And you know who's never been to a Super Bowl? Josh Allen. And the expectation here locally and nationally is that the Bills are going to win this division, whether it's coverage, whether it's people talking about the teams, whether it's the betting angle, whatever you want to talk about. It is just assumed that this is the Bills division to lose. And for once, I need you guys to raise your expectations of this team, the way you talk about this team, and the way that this team is expected to perform this season for a couple of reasons. One, the Patriots did have a cupcake schedule last year. We can all hopefully at this point agree to that, right? Like that is something that we can have a conversation about. We can kumbaya about it now. Their schedule this season certainly is more difficult, but it is nowhere as difficult as the Bills' schedule, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and do schedule talk for the next half an hour, but I do want to run through the schedule before I move on to my other points about this. It's no question that their opening game is going to probably be their most difficult game of the season. It is in Seattle, obviously a Super Bowl rematch, and it is to open the season. A lot of expectations, a lot of hype, and just a lot of pressure, especially for a team where we have talked about the offensive line. Barth has talked about depth at other positions on Felger and Maz earlier today. There's some concern to be had, but the expectation is the schedule is more difficult, but the team is better. And Drake May has another year under his belt. The expectation of Christian Gonzalez getting this, whole situation resolved is there. After the Seattle game, they're home against the Steelers, on the road against the Jaguars. If you're going to that game, please hit me up. I will give you any kind of food recommendations, places to stay, things to do, things to see. I will be there as well. So if you see me, say hello. I will be staying at my mom's house. Maybe I'm going to have my mom, make Zolak some treats. We'll figure it out. I will be at that game, though. And then they are going on the road to Buffalo, home against the Raiders, home against the Jets, on the road to Chicago, on the road to Miami, home against the Packers, road Lions, road Chargers, home Bills, home Vikings, road Chiefs, road Jets, home Broncos, home Dolphins. Not the prettiest schedule in the world, but it could be a lot worse. The thing that I would like to point out about this schedule, there really is no stretch outside of November 8th against the Packers through December 6th. That's 4 games. That's really the only beef of their schedule, right? And I think that helps a team when you play a lot of difficult, teams with expectations throughout the entirety of a season. You want that to be broken up.
And I would agree that appears to be the gauntlet, the toughest month stretch for 4 weeks in the season for the Patriots. I would agree.
And that is what I would like to point out in comparison to the Bills' schedule. The majority of the Bills' schedule is a gauntlet that does not stop. Once again, I don't want to spend this entire segment talking about schedules, but off the rip, opening the season, they get an equally difficult opponent on the road against the Houston Texans. And then they're home against the Lions, home against the Chargers, home against the Patriots, on the road against the Rams. They get a little bit of a break on the road against the Raiders, and then they're home against the Ravens, on the road against the Vikings, which are a team we don't really know. They could be world beaters or they could suck. It all depends on Kyler Murray. Talk about a team with expectations, but a plug-and-play quarterback away. Jets, bit of a break there. Dolphins, bit of a break. Home against the Chiefs. On the road against the Patriots. On the road against the Packers. Home against the Bears. On the road against the Broncos. And then they finish their season 2 divisional games, Dolphins, Jets. And we love to talk about how much the Jets and Dolphins suck, but I think as a community and as a whole, if you genuinely watch football, we all know that divisional games are different. We can agree on that.
How beneficial to have them both back to back. The both times they see the Jets and Dolphins.
Agree.
Get them back to back.
But divisional games are still different, as bad as these teams are. Like, the expectations are that those are, get right games in a gauntlet schedule for the Bills, but divisional games are still tough. That schedule undoubtedly is so much more difficult than New England. The next thing that I want to point out here is Josh Allen's seeming inability to elevate receivers. That is a huge piece that people neglect when talking about Josh Allen. Fans and the media that love him love to talk about how Josh Allen allegedly has never had a number 1 wide receiver. Do people forget that Stephon Diggs played for Josh Allen in his prime? We saw the way that Drake May elevated Stephon Diggs late in his career last year. I would argue to say that during his peak, Josh Allen never got that out of Stephon Diggs. And if Josh Allen was this guy, the media and everybody knows he is, I'm not taking anything away from Josh Allen. He's an incredible player, one of one. Truly, and just a phenomenal starting quarterback. But I think Khalil Shakir is good enough for you to be able to elevate him enough for there not to be any questions about a wide receiver. Now you add DJ Moore. That's no longer a question of if you have a wide receiver, similar situation. There is no question that he is now your wide receiver 1. And I understand that Keon Coleman has not been the receiver that people expected him to be. He's been a little bit of a bust. We can talk about attitude. We can talk about ability. We can talk about whatever we want. But the glaring hole in this argument here is that you have 2 tight ends that are glorified receivers and are absolute world beaters at their position in Dalton Cade and Dawson Knox. I don't want to talk about this Josh Allen doesn't have weapons thing any longer. We have seen the greats who we continue to talk about to this day. The reason that they were so great was that they elevated the talent around them. Patrick Mahomes has done it his entire career. Tom Brady, you guys know better than anybody the people that he was able to elevate here in New England to be successful. So I'm tired of having this conversation about Josh Allen and just the assumption going to be that they will win this division as long as he is on this team. And the other thing is, I mentioned you just went to a Super Bowl and the team got better. Why is it that a team who has been your little brother, the favorite, and the expectation here that they will win the division? And I was prepping this segment in this show earlier, and I told George that there's a clip from SpongeBob that might sound a little bit silly to you guys. But in this situation, if you didn't consume SpongeBob as a kid, there is an episode of SpongeBob where he and Plankton, who is like the rival in the show, are trying to teach SpongeBob how to stick up for himself. And there's a very specific scene here where Plankton is the guy yelling, SpongeBob is one guy, and then there's another character that Plankton is trying to get SpongeBob to stick up for taking SpongeBob's ice cream cone. And it really reminded me of this situation, so I'm going to have George play it for you guys.
Ice cream!
Listen, you! My friend's got something to say!
What? Who said that? Was it you?
Tell him off, SpongeBob. Assert yourself!
That's my ice cream cone!
Great! Now let him have it!
You can have it. Say thanks!
No!
That 20-second stupid clip from SpongeBob is exactly how I feel about the Patriots in this division. It's your division. The Bills are your little brother. Stop letting people step on you and go out there and take it. You are just in a Super Bowl. You have a world beater at quarterback. The conversation should not end at this is the Bills division. People hate schedule talk. Their schedule is so much more difficult than yours. Your team is better than they were last year. There is zero reason why the expectation shouldn't be that you win this division. And I'm sick of pretending like that's just the end of the conversation. And the other thing I will say, you guys know that I love a bit. The Bills are cursed. We can all agree on that. So much so that their new stadium is so flawed. You have so many models of what these new billion-dollar stadiums look like, should look like. You can hire the best architects. I'm sure there are people waiting in line to design this stadium for you, and you still have obstructed seating. Are we joking? The old stadium didn't have cup holders, and now you're paying how much money to get in the door to have obstructed seating? And on top of that, these uniforms are so ugly that they just rolled out. They literally look like a Diet Pepsi can. You cannot tell me that this team is not cursed. Go out there and win this division. That's the expectation. Nothing less.
They had changed coaches as well. I don't know if that'll come back to bite them in the ass.
It does. The fact that, you have a new head coach is also something. And I've been consuming a lot of the Bills media, and I will say I didn't bring up this topic because it really seems to me like this was a hire to make Josh Allen happy because they're friends and they get along and they compete with each other and they love each other. And so that's the reason I didn't bring it up. Like, it's obviously easy to point at the fact that Mike Vrabel has the seniority here and the experience and everything you want to talk about, but it scares me that Josh Allen and his new head coach seem like best friends. That's the only reason I didn't bring it up. Dang, Dario Ngubawale just scored a touchdown for the Raiders too. We're really going through the retreads. I don't know if you guys it's crazy to say that a guy in the NFL, his sister is actually way more athletic than him. She's in the W. But he played at Wisconsin and was a baller at Wisconsin. He's been all over the league too. What a running back room they have there in Vegas, man. Just a bunch of dudes.
I think it's going to stick to as well. Looks like the left toe is kind of dragging, but it doesn't hit the sideline to me.
Yeah. All right, so that's kind of my thoughts on the Patriots there. I really thought that was something that's been kind of neglected, and I wanted to do it earlier in the show because I think more people deserve to hear that you shouldn't just lay down and die in this division. And I know that that's not the case, but it feels like everyone here is just so happy to come to the conclusion that the Bills are going to win this division, and it's really driving me nuts, not just on a local expectation basis, but a national expectation basis. All right, let's hit a quick break, get a check of the headlines, all of the things, and then we will be right back. 617-779-0985 is the number. I see you guys on the line. We'll get to you when we get back. It's Kendra Middleton in for Joe Murray.
Sports Hub headlines.
Mitchell and red zone drills at joint practice today as the Patriots and Eagles prepare for a preseason contest Saturday night at Gillette Stadium. While we wait, we've got Thursday night football with the Raiders versus Texans and Chargers versus 49ers. Raiders rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza finished the night 8 for 15 for 86 yards while throwing a pick six and taking a sack for an 11-yard loss. That score stands at 20-10 Houston. The 49ers and Chargers are in the second quarter. San Francisco leads 3-0.
ESPN is the home of MLB.
In the MLB, the Seattle Mariners are promoting pitcher Cade Anderson, the top pitching prospect, to the active roster for a Saturday start, and Rafael Devers returns to Boston tomorrow night. As the Red Sox and Giants begin a 3-game series. Since this is the Joe Show, for any wrestling fans, PWInserter.com confirmed that Sami Zayn is out of action due to a legitimate broken hand and has no reported timetable for return. Sports Up Headlines are brought to you by Boston Prolotherapy. Don't let joint pain keep you off the court, course, or trail. Eliminate that pain with Dr. Franke at Boston Prolotherapy. I'm Derek Olson on Boston's Home for Sports, 95 The Sports Hub.
Hands in nicely.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Welcome back to the final segment of a Thursday edition of The Joe Show. No Joe this evening. Kendra Middleton filling in. It's been a pleasure spending the evening with you guys. A few more minutes here. Let's go to one of my favorite callers, JP and NP, who wants to talk about Formula One. Hi, JP.
Well, before my big question of the week, Kendra, I got to call you out a little bit. I know you said those older guys in their 30s and 40s. Well, this older guy in his 60s. And then there was DMX, still strong today, all these years later. Not big into scissor, but you rap out of your work. That's my favorite. And I need my top 5 finisher. Give me somebody to bet top 5 for the Grand Prix this weekend in the Dutch Grand Prix, please.
All right. Thanks, JP. Appreciate you. I will give all of you guys credit if you actually listen to rap music. I just feel like it's not as popular up here as someone who's from the South, where like a lot of rappers are actually from, especially with like the older audience. I did give out an F1 pick a little bit earlier. I'm going to go Max Verstappen for a podium, home race, just signed a contract. I think it's a good weekend for Max to have a little extra get up in his steps. So I'm going to go Max for a podium, not even a top 5. We're going to go Max podium. I think probably pretty decent odds considering he hasn't had the best season. So that's where we're going to go with that. With this final segment here, George and I were talking during the break, kind of want to get to a couple things that we didn't get throughout the evening. One thing that I wanted to bring up, he wants to get to something with Bill Belichick, but I don't know if you guys saw this story today. One of my buddies sent it in our group chat. They're doing construction on the Orange Line, and it was suspended today, and I think for a little bit longer, but they have shuttle service that they replace the Orange Line with. And I am assuming that they probably had to hire extra people for help during this shutdown to drive the buses. And there were people commuting earlier today and expecting to go on the Orange Line shuttle to North Station. The driver of this replacement Orange Line shuttle drove to the North Shore. And at one point, the drivers started saying, "You're not going the right place. You're not taking us the right place," started screaming at the driver. And the driver took them to the North Shore and not North Station. And that is peak comedy, definition of lying on your resume. I almost, you could probably say, hey, they're not from here. But if I had to guess, they're probably from, suburban Massachusetts, don't really take the T, and just have no idea that North Station is actually a thing, but they know the North Shore. Because if you're not local, I feel like you don't know what the North Shore is or the South Shore either. You know what I mean?
You have to imagine that's so vague, too. And they're thinking, they must have been cruising along Route 1, just like, hey, somebody will ring the bell and stop here.
Apparently they were, and the driver was adamant, no, I'm taking you to the right place.
Oh, that's terrible. I've had instances where the red line is shut down, or you're going to the aquarium and the silver line does the little shuttle stuff. I couldn't imagine if you were just going the wrong way and then noticing it too. My son are like that, backseat driver. So I would have noticed right away. It said something, but God bless that driver and all the passengers aboard. Yeah, those things shouldn't be happening. That's not normal in the MBTA over here in Boston for the out of town. That's not normal.
Imagine having to call your boss and be like, yeah, you're not going to believe it, but...
Start taking pictures out the window of the bus, sending them you're not going to believe this, but look.
I know, that's so crazy. Okay, you wanted to get to some Bill Belichick stuff, George.
Well, Belichick of the UNC, I know you had mentioned that kind of earlier. I'm curious to see how it all goes down. The Lombardi situation. I'm not too big on. I think this ends kind of horribly for Belichick. I'll be surprised if he gets a year 3 out of this. Wouldn't surprise me if he gets dismissed mid-season. So I'm eager to see how it goes. I did want to mention the eligibility with college players. The Ole Miss group of players, it looks like they have a restraining order. And what do you think about eligibility of unsigned draftees that were underclassmen? Do you think that they should be eligible to return to the NCAA? And what do you think that means for the transfer portal? And does it get muddy this close to week 0?
Yeah. I do think that they should get their eligibility back, just because you're granted that amount of eligibility anyway. Like, I don't hate that at all. Like, I was very much behind Trinidad Chambliss this season and being able to get granted another year of eligibility. I think that it does get a little bit murky. I think that we've kind of gotten away with it because of the COVID year thing, but there does become a point where, okay, when do you now have grown men playing against 18-year-old kids? And I think that there's just such a difference between, you know, a guy who is like Tyler Shuck and was 25, graduate or getting drafted into the NFL, and an 18-year-old kid out there. And I think that that's where things get a little bit murky, but I do think that they should be able to keep their eligibility. As far as the UNC Bill Belichick TCU thing, I am actually going to Dublin for the UNC TCU game. I don't expect it to be as big of a bloodbath as last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but TCU beat North Carolina 48-14 in their opening game of the season. I don't have expectations for UNC or Bill Belichick this year. I think they were way overhyped last year. Probably going to be a 6-7 win team this year. The big question mark for me is what's going on with his son. There's I guess a conversation that he's been removed from the team because of something that they're not commenting on. I think it's easy to assume what the answer is there. I'm not going to talk about that on the air because it's not my place. But if you know his history, I think that you can maybe kind of put some clues together as to maybe what's going on. But at the same time, maybe he just is, taking their mom's side in this whole thing. That's also another option. So I don't have expectations for UNC. I do think that Bill probably is going to continue to embarrass himself just because of the lack of continuity and a bit of the turnover on the roster and just kind of these things that I think that if you watch college football and football in general, you kind of expect it to come to fruition. So I don't really have any expectations of UNC this year. I guess that we will see once I'm at the game. I feel like there's something else we wanted to talk about, George. What am I missing? I feel like there was something that we wanted to get to outside of the college stuff, but I can't.
We had the Devers return. The division, we hit on that.
Maybe we did hit everything.
Yeah, I think so. The fan reaction to the Devers tomorrow, are you expecting any fanfare? Personally,
Would you boo him?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, but I'm expecting the boos, the way that they did Contreras and stuff for not hustling. And to be sure, I agree with Contreras. He's playing gimpy right now. He's ground ball to third base. Ideally, you want to see the guy run down the base line, but in his case, and even the double plays that I've seen being turned, he's pulling off. That doesn't bother me in the least bit. Is he hitting the ball? That's more of a sign with Wilson Contreras, but he's playing gimpy. You got to give him credit for even playing out there hurt, and he's everything for this lineup. He's been the MVP of this season.
Can I give you a hot take?
Talk to me.
So I was very much in agreement with Matt McCarthy that the real test of the Red Sox and how hot they got and how good they were was the schedule that they had coming out of the All-Star break. I'm going to say that this is probably the next few weeks are going to be the true test of who this team is, because you have guys coming back and getting healthy when you kind of have run out of gas on the chemistry bit that you had going of just this team that had no quit and wasn't willing to give up and just really kind of rallied behind one another. But you just got through two series of teams that one is underperforming and two, the other just isn't good. But now you're heading into a series against the Giants where there's clearly going to be some animosity from some people towards Rafael Devers. You just traded Marcelo there, and they're a Giants team that's truly underperforming, in my opinion. Like, they just the expectations for them this year were a lot higher than where they are in the standings right now.
They're trying to get rid of Devers early.
Yep, but after that, you're gonna play a Marlins team that you should sweep. And then you're going to go on the road to play the Yankees. And I think that this stretch of games is really important in the true identity of this Red Sox team because of the health, getting people back, and now being able to have expectations out of the guys that you got at the trade deadline. And so I think that this is going to say more about the true identity of this Red Sox team and the fight that they have in them than that stretch out of the All-Star break.
Very true. I'm in agreement with you as well. because Giants and Marlins, those should be cupcakes, but I look at the Diamondbacks and Pirates the same way as well. So can they stop playing down to the competition is what I'll be looking for, and then that 4-game slate against the Yankees. I think, going back to the Fenway series and the way that they played them in that 4-game series in the sweep, which I was in attendance for the Sunday game, the Yankees, they're not going away. If we can keep the fight up against them, ideally I'd like to flip spots with them so then we can host the wild card series round against them. But then the Mariners after that, the Orioles, it's 4-game slate there, interdivisional. And then back to some lowly teams in the Angels and Royals before we close out the season mid-September and late against some harder opponents. So I'm a little bit worried about the pitching. Can they sustain that? Can we score more than 4 runs? I think they can kind of get back to that, especially if we get Roman Anthony back in the lineup. Hopefully he's performing the way he's doing down in Portland. Don't have any updated numbers on how anything went in the past 24 hours, but the way he hit that home run, it was a beautiful look. The sound was what I took away. It sounded like Team USA, Roman Anthony, and that's the one I've been waiting to have back in this lineup. And it's good to play with expectations, I would say, Kendra, because I didn't have them. Rode the wave of this season. I'm still kind of level-headed. This is very 2013-esque of these Red Sox. If they were to go on a run, seeing is believing with me with this team, and they're just going to have to prove it the whole way for me to get on the bandwagon, so to speak.
Okay, so going back to realistic expectations of this team, their next 10 games, what is a disaster? What is bare minimum? What is overachieving?
Sadly, they are in a good position. So 5-5 would be catastrophic for me, but that's not going to be enough for them to get out of the playoff race. They should easily go 7-3 in the next 10-game stretch.
All right. I think that will do it for us. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight, especially if you stuck around for the entirety of the show. I want to say, as I always close my show, thank you to our essential workers. Do good, be good, take care of yourself, do something for yourself this weekend. 988 is the suicide hotline number if you need it. And take care of yourselves, guys. Love you, mean it. See you Saturday morning. Anything else from you guys? George, Derek, everybody good?
I'm in the good.
All right.
Easy, guys.
Love you guys. Forehead kisses. See ya.